The following is a special presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Texas is a big racetrack. They run fast in Texas. You got one or two cars that get themselves hooked up and they sort of run away with the field. You never know. You go down there sometimes and you got the right setup. You go the next time and you can be there for a week and never hit it.
The quest for a history-making championship by Jimmie Johnson and the effort of Carl Edwards to make that title his own comes to the Lone Star State and the lightning-fast Texas Motor Speedway. It's a big place for a big race and a big crowd. Some 150,000 expected. It turned out on a beautiful warm afternoon to see which of 43 drivers will have that six-shooters celebration in victory lane and whether it'll be trick or treat for the championship chasers.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dickies American Worker of the Year, Hale Hughes, as he delivers the most famous words in motorsports.
All right, Texas! On behalf of Dickies, gentlemen, start your engines!
Crank them up. Fired up. All right, bud. Fired up. Fired up. Crank it up. Crank it up. Fired up. We have a good time today. Keep your eyes out up there, Dylan. I know you will, bud. Same as always. Just do what you've been doing. Have a good time. We'll be there at the end, man. You have a good day.
Under beautiful sunny skies, we are just moments away from the start of today's Dickies 500 here at Texas Motor Speedway. Cars are rolling away. Let's listen in to Jimmie Johnson's crew chief, Chad Canals.
We'll have some fun today. It's going to be a great race for us. Just remember, guys, it's a long one, 500 miles, so make sure you guys stay fresh, stay hydrated. It's going to get a little bit warm. Also, remember, we're going into the evening, so if you have to have lights on your helmet, anything like that, you guys take care of that.
Let's take a look at our starting grid, and for the first time in his illustrious career, the teammate for Chad Canals and Jimmie Johnson, Jeff Gordon, has won a pole at Texas Motor Speedway. Remember, this is the only track, one of only two tracks where he has never won a race. While you watch to see where your favorite driver started, let's visit with our in-race reporter, the driver of the AMP Energy National Guard Chevrolet, which starts fifth today, Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Junior, Dale Jarrett, ESPN. You have a copy?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Junior, not being in position to win the championship, are you guys now trying some different setups, or are you pretty much sticking with what's been tried and true and worked for you in the past?
Well, we're always learning with this car. I mean, we don't really have a certain setup that we really like, and we've always used all year. We've tried a lot of different things. Some have worked, some work sometimes, and not other times. It seems like nothing really goes from one track to the next and is consistent, so you have to move around a lot in practice. And our setup seemed to be quite a bit different each week.
All right, Dale, our second question comes from our ESPN mailbag, and your fan Mark in Houston, Texas would like to know which turn at this track is the most difficult for you and why?
The exit of turn 2 is the most difficult by far because the banking falls away from the banking falls away before the exit of the corner, so you're actually still in the turn as you're losing banking and the car gets either very tight or very loose. It's really unorthodox as far as an exit for a corner and the transition happening so quickly before the corner's done. It makes it very challenging.
All right, Junior, thanks for talking with us today. Have a great day. And he's going to talk with your crew chief, Tony Uri Jr.
Thank you.
Hey, Tony Jr., Andy Petrie in the booth. You got us?
Yes, sir.
Hey, Tony, the last 25% of these races have been the biggest challenge for you guys. What are you going to do, or what are you doing to try to fix that and get a win?
Well, I mean, that's just it, Andy. We're trying to finish out on a good note, but at the same time, we're trying to get ready for next year and trying some things. Unfortunately, we don't know what the testing policy is going to be next year, so this is about the only time that we might be the last chance we get. So we tried a couple setups yesterday in practice, and it seems like we were bouncing either loose in or tight in. So kind of throwed the dice here a little bit. I think our teammate, the 48 and the 5, are running fairly well, so we kind of bounced something in between there, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, Tony, good luck, and thanks for talking to us.
Hey, boys, thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jerry Punch, along with Dale Jarrett and Andy Petrie. Glad to have you with us here today at Texas. You know, Jimmie Johnson is sitting on a 183-point lead in the standings with just 3 races to go, which means, in essence, it is his championship to lose. However, guys, one mistake, one mechanical failure could totally change the complexion of this chase. Now, with that in mind, if you're crew chief Chad Knaus or you're Jimmie Johnson, how tempted are you to back it down and play it a little bit conservative?
Well, for me, I'm tempted a lot to do that because when I was Dale Earnhardt Sr.'s crew chief, that's the way we did it. We would try to get as big a lead as we could, and then we'd try to protect that lead going down the stretch because the championship was the most important thing to us, and we didn't want to risk or take chances that would lose us points. That's just the way I like to do it, and I am very tempted to try to protect that lead.
Yeah, I like that concept, Andy, and you're probably in the majority of most crew chiefs down there. Not Chad Knaus, though. He's going to go wide open. He wants to win races. He knows that's the way that they can ensure a victory or a championship for Jimmie Johnson. Jimmy's going to adhere to that strategy. He's going to go wide open and try to get as many points as he possibly can. Don't look for these guys to back off.
Guys, 7 drivers in today's race, including 3 chasers, have won at least 1 race a year ago but have been shut out in 2008. Who among this list of guys here might just break through today?
Well, I'm going to go right to the top. Jeff Gordon won his first pole here ever. I think that he might break through and get that first victory at Texas and the first victory in quite a while.
I think it's going to be Matt Kenseth. He's the guy that I picked coming into this weekend, and this has been a great racetrack for this team and for Matt. I think he gets a win today. He's going to break that slump that he's had this year of staying out of victory lane.
This one should be fun to watch. This broadcast is available in Spanish by activating your SAP button presented by ESPN Deportes. This is a 500-mile race, 334 laps, the richest race of the chase, over $7.2 million. There's the pit window. Andy, concern over tires? We had a couple of tire issues yesterday in final practice.
Yeah, we saw a couple of problems, but I don't anticipate a tire problem. I think we can go the full 50, 55 laps on fuel without any problems at all.
Up front, Jeff Gordon, 4-time champion, riding the longest winless streak in his career, 38 races. Could that end today? NASCAR's #1, Jimmie Johnson. You know, Jimmy's a big college football fan. He's well aware that yesterday here in the state of Texas, #1 was upset. Could that be an omen for Jimmie Johnson? Folks, it's Halloween weekend. Could #1 possibly get a hex in Texas? We're going to find out here as they come down to the green flag. Inside, the guy you were talking about, the 17 car, Matt Kenseth, trying to get to victory lane here in 2008, hustling on the bottom of the racetrack.
Got a good starting spot, so he's going to try to get up there, see how close to the front he can get, maybe lead this thing early.
Yeah, the bottom part of the racetrack is probably going to be the preferred line for right now. But I think this racetrack's going to widen out after they get about 15 laps on their tires.
David Rudiman up on the high side. He was very good in that final practice session on Saturday.
How about Gordon there? He jumped out to a pretty nice lead. Junior's the one that's on the move, Doug. Look at him on the bottom.
Yeah, he went from the high side to the bottom, was able to make that pass on Martin Truex Jr. Kenseth trying to follow him through there. Comes David Rudiman in the 44. He was really good in yesterday's final practice. He was excited about his chances here today.
He started the race way up in that groove. You see him running right there. He didn't even look for the bottom of the racetrack.
Saw him in practice yesterday use that, and that's unusual for David. He usually likes to be right on the bottom, but I saw him running most of his practice up from that middle part of the racetrack to the top.
Very hungry to get that win in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition. Jeff Gordon hungry to pull away and get his first win ever at this racetrack. The questions on Jimmie Johnson. Would he play it conservative early? Would he be aggressive? I think we're seeing a little aggressiveness out of him.
Well, I mean, he is racing hard, and when you talk about being conservative or aggressive, I mean, the race car drivers have to run the car as fast as it'll go. The point where it comes in of actually taking chances and putting yourself in a spot you don't want to be in or shouldn't be in, that's when I question that. And we've seen Jimmie risk a lot to get some good finishes here lately.
25 car making his debut in NASCAR Sprint Cup. Brad Keselowski up in the wall and scraped the right side.
He's finding this Cup racing, a little bit more difficult with this car. Doesn't look like it wants to turn. Just doesn't have the grip, probably. He was up out of the groove in 3 and 4. We see Jimmy Johnson here still trying to make that pass on Jamie McMurray. And I think when we're going to see, if we talk about Jimmy being conservative at all, it's going to be mostly on restarts in the start of the race. He didn't really go hard here until things kind of got single file, and he's able to go at these cars one at a time.
McMurray and Johnson are for 6th position at his 6th, 7th, and 8th. We mentioned the 25 car a moment ago. Brad Keselowski now making his debut here. Let's show you what happened to him up on the high side.
He goes in, and you can see Elliott Sadler right there in front of him losing a little grip, and Brad just gets in a little bit too high.
Yeah, the racetrack's not ready for that kind of a high line. It might come in later. I'm not sure if it'll ever really get that high. It does at Atlanta, but here it seems to stay just a little bit off the wall.
Yeah, they should be okay. These cars are pretty durable, so we've seen that.
He ran the nationwide race here yesterday, and in that race, in that car, DJ, it's all about maintaining momentum in the corner.
Yeah, and he was trying to do that, but you can see that he's ready for the nighttime to come. He's got a clear shield, which you'll need later on, and sunglasses on under there. Jamie?
Well, guys, I talked to Brad Keselowski. You know, he's finally so excited he made the field for his first Cup race. He said that was the goal. Everything else on that is a bonus, but he did say that running here in practice gave him so much confidence for that nationwide race that he learned that he could run the high line. But I think he just got up there a little too soon as he scraped the car, but he said no harm, no foul.
Yeah, he'll be okay. His car's handling okay and still going forward. See a battle here with Jamie McMurray and Martin Truex. Jamie's going to that high side early, too. He likes to run up there. He used that in the nationwide race yesterday, and this racetrack has a lot of rubber from that race yesterday because these guys ran every group possible. As we see David Rudman taking a spot away from Jimmy Johnson.
Yeah, McMurray is taking the 5th spot away. Rudman is taking the 7th spot away. Both of them are doing it up in that middle to high groove here early on.
Wow, that 44 car ran right up on Martin Truex. Kind of surprised him off turn 2. That big run off the top side.
You can really take a lot of momentum. We see Junior moved up on the racetrack here. Here's our leader, Jeff Gordon.
We mentioned that yesterday in practice sessions, Tony Stewart had a right rear tire come apart, which damaged his car, and he had to go to a backup car. This one isn't too shabby, Dave.
It's already made up a lot of positions, Doc, and is heading toward the front of this field. Crew Chief Greg Zipadelli told me this morning they're not worried about starting in the back. They're kind of used to qualifying back there at these mile-and-a-half tracks and racing in traffic. In the spring here, they started 24th, and their average start at mile-and-a-half tracks this year, 30th. So Tony is used to battling back and making his way forward early on in the show.
I was told that Tony was really happy with this backup car. He liked his primary car, but he was really happy with this car.
Tony Stewart's on the move, but they're all chasing this guy right now. Jeff Gordon, the 24 car, for the first time in his career on the pole, and he's led all 10 laps thus far. Back up to this message and a word from our ABC station.
Running that high line and getting there. Where the 07 is right on the bottom. See him make the pass for the lead here just out of turn 4.
And he's got his car working great on the bottom of the racetrack, but Jimmy's car is working real good up a few lanes.
That's very impressive on the bottom. And I think before the night's over with, as this racetrack really cools down later on, that bottom's going to be where you're going to have to win this race. I don't know that you can up on top. I could be proved wrong, and it'll be interesting to watch as we go through the evening.
It does seem like that high line works a lot better when the racetrack's hot and slick, but when it gets a lot of grip, when it's cooling down at night, it seems like it does want to migrate down right back to the bottom of the racetrack, the shortest way around.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. set on the pole here back in April, led 32 laps. Faded late, as you guys mentioned, when the track got a lot of grip there and ended up finishing in 12th position. Here comes the 99 car of Carl Edwards, now being shown in 6th spot. Dave.
And you know, Carl has an air of confidence this weekend, as he should, being a former winner here. But when he had the first time to address the media this weekend, he said, we couldn't go to a track that I'd feel better at. I believe we can come here and dominate this race. Well, he's got to get to the lead to do that. But boys, from where he started, I think he's showing that he might be able to do that.
Another car, Dave, it's making his way up in a hurry, is the 42 car of Juan Pablo Montoya. Now, Montoya has moved from 22nd starting spot all the way to 11th, and he's digging on that high side.
He's flying. He was what I said about maybe not running all the way up against the wall. Forget that. He's running right next to it up here in 3 and 4. Jamie?
Well, guys, if you look at the stats of Juan Pablo Montoya, he's had 8 DNFs in the last 20 races. But when you talk to him, he's ecstatic. Yeah, it's not been great that he's crashed the cars, but he said this team is really getting better. This is a brand new car here, a new generation. He said that's what they had been lacking, is the right cars that are light enough. This car is newer, it's lighter, and he's not even running that bag of water because it weighs an extra 12 pounds. They feel like they're really making gains with their cars, and their driver's pretty happy.
Jamie, they had a great run going in Atlanta last week and got hit on pit road. Now here's a battle with Roush Fenway teammates as Carl Edwards moves in and takes that spot, that 5th position, away from Jamie McMurray.
That's teammates working together right there. You saw Jamie McMurray back out of the gas on the straightaway and give Carl that spot. Now they can get back to business.
22 laps in the Dickies 500 at Texas Motor Speedway. We have had 2 different leaders. Jeff Gordon led the first 15 laps, and now Clint Boyer, our leader, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. is moving in. Texas Motor Speedway, stop number 8 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, and thus far in 2008, for the first time in chase history, we have yet to have a non-chase driver win a race. That brings us to our AT&T Crew Chief Challenge question. Which driver will become the first non-chase driver to win a chase race this season? Could it be Mark Martin, Martin Truex Jr., Damon McMurray, or David Reagan? To play, text the word crew to 191 on your AT&T wireless phone and send in your answer. The results will be shown later in the race. Standard text rates will apply. Up front, it is Clint Boyer, who was our second leader today. He has led the last 12 consecutive laps. There's the 02 car, Joey Logano, the 18-year-old, making only his 3rd career start, and he is struggling early on in the 02.
Yeah, just went a lap down right there, so finding going a little bit rough. He just barely made it into this race, the 43rd starter. See Jeff Gordon sliding back some here as Jamie McMurray is trying to take away the 5th spot from him now.
What's going on with Jeff Gordon, Mike?
Well, I can't say that this is unexpected, Doc, because I spoke with crew chief Steve Letarte this morning, and he said despite the fact that we were strong in qualifying, they felt like they really struggled in race trim during practice. He said just typical stuff for Texas. Could not get comfortable. The balance was shifting between tight and loose throughout the course of practice, and right now what he's saying, tight middle, loose off, and not very good.
Well, he has dodged a couple of bullets already. Here's the 99 car. What a surprise that Carl Edwards is up on the wheel here early on as he goes by and takes the 3rd spot away.
Yeah, he's doing everything that he can possibly do to try to make this championship closer. And you see he's in the 3rd spot now as he took that away from Dale Jr. One guy on the move, too, is that 44, David Rudeman. Got that high line working. He's moved into the 2nd spot in that UPS Toyota.
In the garage area prior to the race today, a lot of veteran crew chiefs said that if you want to watch a car today, watch that 44. Rudeman might just be the guy to beat.
We've talked a lot about how this race team, Michael Waltrip Racing, has really improved throughout this year. And it's nice to see that happening, and they're getting David Rudeman cars that can keep up with his abilities now. Dave?
And I asked David about that, the garage area talk that your car was pretty good. And he said, well, we were really good at one point yesterday, but the track changed, and I wasn't too sure about it. Then I looked at all the data of the lap times, and I realized that even when I didn't feel that great, we were pretty comparable with everybody else. So I think that was just a nice conservative way of saying, yeah, we're going to be okay.
We talk about comebacks. He finished 43rd in this race a year ago and 41st here in April. So a big difference, big jump by that Michael Waltrip team in terms of competition here in this race. See Carl there being shown 2nd in the points. Right now 160 points back. And a 6-second margin, our chase tracker ahead of the car he's actually chasing in the point standings, Jimmy Johnson.
McMurray's car looks like it's handling great. He just turned that car dead left, getting in the corner and stuck. Junior sliding backwards just a little bit. He lost a couple of spots and looks like he's going to lose this one here.
Yeah, it really looked like that he was on the march. He was going to go up there and take the lead away from Clint Boyer, but Clint's done a nice job of hanging on even though he's getting beat by about 2/10 a lap by David Rudman and Carl Edwards.
Well, this might be a trend that they're trying to reverse with this 88 team, is be better at the end of the race. They've been great at the beginning. We've seen him run up there and get the lead early on, but maybe this is a good sign for the end of the race.
And what's happening with the 88 cars, exactly what happened about 5 or 6 laps ago with the 24, and I was told that they went over to the 88 talking about Jeff Gordon's bunch and borrowed the setup from Earnhardt Jr., so now both these cars are struggling.
This is our outside pole sitter, Martin Truex Jr., but he's all the way back to 11th. What's going on with him, Jamie?
Well, he started second, but he's reporting the same thing, tight in the middle, loose off. But Andy, you'll appreciate this. I talked to Kevin Bono-Mannion, his crew chief, and he said, you know what, we have nothing to lose, so I threw this setup at it yesterday, and he called it an off-the-wall setup. He said, I put it on the car, went home, and I couldn't sleep all night. I got here this morning, and I completely changed it, went back to what was proven. It's not working out for him, but Andy, I'm sure you can relate to that.
Oh, yeah, I've had plenty of those days, unfortunately, but they've still got a lot of time to work on this car and get it better.
And Truex has a history of running really well here at Texas. He finished third, led a lot of laps in this race a year ago. They are chasing the 07 of Clint Boyer, the 19 car of Elliott Sadler, just trying to hang on the lead lap. Now, one of the cars we thought would be good today was Matt Kenseth. He started 6th and right now is riding in 7th position. Dave.
And Doc, his crew chief Chip Boland told me this morning we were just as good as anyone else's, but we weren't really happy with it, but we were as good as we were going to make it. But that's changed a little bit since the start of this race. Listen.
Took off okay. Just gets really loose, like we got way too much air in the tires. There's something up on top of the track. And just super, super loose, like the right rear is out on the ground.
We'll take a foot of rubber in that left rear on your first stop here. 3240. Here's the run-up lap.
Suggesting putting a spring rubber into the left rear. Let's go to the Chevy cutaway car and find out from Tim Brewer how that's done and what change that might make.
Thanks, Dave. Folks, when you start the race, as you go through that transition, a hot racetrack, the car builds up air pressure in the rear tire. And you've got a loose characteristic. Well, that means the right rear tire is getting hot. As it's getting hotter, it's building up air pressure, and you feel the bumps a lot more. The back of the car has a tendency to chatter out. So what you're going to do on a pit stop, you got provisions made in the car, and we've got a spring hanging right here with the rubber. And what we're going to do, we're just going to insert that thing because we can tighten the car up by increasing the left rear spring rate. But still yet, there's going to be a lot of transitions the car is going to go through today. So you're going to hear us talk about the spring rates, track bars, and wedge all day long.
Now you see that spring rubber tied to the spring. That's what they'll do. They'll take that on a pit stop and just roll it right in there if they're loose. And those tire pressures are easy to change because they can do that before the car ever gets there. And that's a quick change that sounds like what Matt needs.
This is 7th, 8th, and 9th. Looking back from Jimmy Johnson now and Greg Biffle, who's starting to move in. And DJ, we talk about how much rapid transition this racetrack has, so it's a lot different than Atlanta and Charlotte.
Yeah, it really is. And we heard Rusty talk about it in the countdown show, and it's what every driver faces here are the transitions. You go off the straightaway into the corner, you pick up the banking immediately, yet there's no transition into it. So it really makes for a loose condition going down into each of the corners. And then as you come out of 2 and 4, it makes it difficult because you go from the 24-degree banking right to the straightaway, which is relatively flat. So it makes it very difficult for these drivers.
And Dale, you'd have to admit that probably turn 2 here at the Texas Motor Speedway is the toughest turn as far as losing that transition. We go to a lot of tracks like Charlotte Motor Speedway, the Lowe's Motor Speedway, they're talking out of Atlanta. But this particular track, like you were saying, you know, right before the race, I was talking to Greg Biffle, and he said, man, I really struggle in turn 2 because that banking falls off so much. And he said, Rusty, I think the other thing you're going to see is a lot of guys running on the bottom in 1 and 2 more than we've seen in the past because the bump starts at the bottom of the track and gets real big time up on top of the track. So he likes the bottom in 1 and 2.
As we see Biffle working, he just passed Jimmy Johnson there, and Juan Pablo Montoya, and that 42 still coming. So he takes that spot away from Jimmy Johnson.
Montoya running way up at the top of the racetrack, but he's making it work as he makes a move on Greg Biffle. Pit stops moving in now. We'll come back and cover them in just a moment. The car on the move when we went to break a moment ago was the 42, and he is just a rocket ship.
He is working that high line and passing cars one at a time as he gets to them.
And he's just carrying so much speed. We see him almost get into the wall. He does that every single lap, and then he cuts it back across the corner.
You know what I'm seeing right here, though, is we can talk about this racetrack having a little more grip than Atlanta, but it looks like it's lost a lot of that because the lap times have slowed down some 3 seconds from the early part of the race.
And Jeff Gordon is one of those guys that's really slowed down. Let's listen in to his radio.
I touch the throttle, squeeze it, big push, and then I'm sideways out near the wall. Over here at 3, I'm just tight as soon as I land, and I can't ever touch the throttle all the way off. The slightest bit of throttle over here at 3 and 4 starts pushing. Well, we're going to start with air pressure, just like we talked. We're going to tackle it with air pressure. Keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, that's got to be a helpless feeling, DJ, because you're entering that corner at over, 195 miles an hour.
Yeah, it's tough, and you have to make those adjustments right now, but you have to be ready to go back on that, Andy, so you don't want to go too far because you're going to get to a much cooler racetrack here eventually.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing there is a couple things the car's doing. You see the 7 car making a pit stop right here.
This is a backup car. He just jumped out and decided to come on down pit road early. Go ahead, Andy.
Well, what I was saying is that, you're saying the car's pushing in one place, loose in another. That's hard to dissect, and that's one of the things that, teams kind of struggle with. Which one do you work on? And if it gets better, that's the lead right there. Rudiman's going for the lead by Clint Boyer.
Rudiman becomes our 3rd different leader on the day here as we move in on lap 50. We should be seeing pit stops here in the next 4 or 5 laps.
Yeah, you'll see these guys coming down pit road. They'll be glad to get some tires on these things. See them sliding all over the place.
They sure will. David Rudiman, nice run to the front of the pack here for him. Just really driving this car. He's been a little bit better in traffic than the 07 has been, and so I think that's what's benefited him as we see Elliott Sadler on pit road.
Wow, you see right there, he's working a groove. David Rudiman is off turn 2. That gives him that big run, and he caught Regan Smith real quickly, kind of surprised him. That's been his strong suit, coming off turn 2.
Elliott Sadler, one of the drivers, really struggling with the handling on his car. He had gone a lap down and so opted to come in a couple laps early and get some fresh Goodyears.
We're due for a green flag stop. You'll see all of them in here in the next few laps.
Yeah, Sam Hornish is in and Bobby Labonte on pit road. Jimmy Johnson coming on to pit road now. So all these guys that their cars aren't handling that well, they're ready to get here and make some adjustments and get some fresh tires on these things.
Points leader Jimmy Johnson will make his first stop, and obviously he had not made much progress as well. Mike.
And Johnson in his pit, he's really talking with Chad Knaus this morning. It seems like this team is really banking on the sun setting. That's what their car is set up for when this track gains grip. They're going to make a wedge adjustment on the left rear right now, a 4-tire change, just trying to loosen him up a little bit. He's a little bit tight, got boxed into the pits, but finally is away. Dave?
17 car coming to pit road. Matt says the car is very, very loose. Please take a big swing at it. 2 spring rubbers out of the left rear, plus an air pressure adjustment for Matt's car. 4 fresh tires and full of Sunoco fuel. Shannon?
Kurt Busch says this car is wrecking. He is not liking this number 2 car right now. He says the front end will not turn. They're going to make a track bar adjustment as well as a wedge adjustment on this number 2 car. 4 tires and Sunoco fuel. Dave?
Carl Edwards was running in the 3rd position. He gives that up now for 4 tires and an air pressure adjustment, but just slight. He said it's barely snug in the center, just a little free off. They didn't want to make a very big change here. Jamie.
And Clint Boyer's dominated most of this race. The first race he's led in 23, no changes. He said it's a bit loose, 4 tires and fuel for the 07. And Kyle Busch, he has made his way through the pack. He started 29th. Car's pretty good. He was a little loose off. No changes expected. 4 tires. Dave?
44, your leader, David Rudiman, on pit road right now. They will, looks like an air pressure adjustment, but maybe just barely for David. He said he needed forward bite on the exit just a little bit. Good stop for the Michael Waltrip Racing crew, and David's off pit road. Mike?
Dale Earnhardt Jr. had been complaining he had been running a little bit warm, had some trash on the grill. Also, tight center, loose in, loose off. They're going to make an air pressure adjustment on that car. Trying to correct it, make it a little bit better. A 4-tire change in Sunoco race fuel for Dale Earnhardt Jr. They're still working on the left side, completing their stop and away.
5-car on for his stop, Casey Mears, who has run really well on the 1.5-mile tracks this year, down and away after getting 4 fresh tires.
Fast and furious down on pit road under green flag stops.
Yeah, a lot happening. These guys would have preferred to have had a caution at some point where they could make some big adjustments on these cars.
Scott Speed making only his 3rd start in NASCAR Sprint Cup competition, getting service.
Nice 13-3 pit stop.
Dave Blaney coming in the Bill Davis Toyota. See what his guys can do.
Yeah, David stayed out there hoping to maybe get a caution there where he could get back on the lead lap. He had been lapped right before that. Wasn't going to work out, and you got to get in and get fuel and tires.
Wow, they're turning the jack screws on that car. He turned that thing 5 or 6 turns. Looked like the track bar adjustment.
Our leader after cycling through pit stops, Clint Boyer, back up front in the 07 car.
Look who picked up a spot on this round of pit stops. Carl Edwards running second right there behind Clint Boyer.
David Rudeman back to third, McMurray fourth, and Jeff Gordon with those adjustments in fifth position. Gets hectic when you go over the wall for a pit stop, particularly a green flag stop. Wearing our crew cam today, rear tire carrier Chip Good out of Statesville, North Carolina for Juan Pablo Montoya.
You see, they have to wait for the car to come by, and then the carrier and the changer come around. You see the scrapes on the quarter panel. You get that right rear tire on, and they got to come back over here now and get this left rear tire. They got to control the other one. There's a lot of work. Oh, here we go. We got a lead change.
Carl Edwards decided, I'm just going to blow by. I need to lead some laps here. So now for the first time today, Carl Edwards, second in the point standings, will get the 5 bonus points for leading.
Yellow's out. Watch for oil.
They got a blown engine here with Reed Sorensen's car on the bottom. A lot of smoke. It's going to be kind of this is a little weird situation. Guys just made pit stops.
It's kind of weird because he was just serving a penalty down pit road for an uncontrolled tire during that pit stop. So it was just whenever he headed back out to.
Yeah, the motor seems fine. Temperature is good. No oil pressure lights on. It's something in the back.
They definitely have a problem.
Yeah,
they don't know, and we don't either.
It's something important. Yeah. We don't know what it is, but it's something important.
First caution flag of the day here, lap 57. Reed Sorensen, whose plans in 2009 include a move to Gillette Evernham Motorsports to drive the 10 car. Final 3 races in this 41.
Some of these guys have only run 3 or 4 laps since they made that green flag stop. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what they do here. Whether some of them stay out there. A lot of them will probably come from the back of the field in. Yeah. Just don't know what these leaders will do.
We saw yesterday tires really be important on the nationwide cars.
The free pass will go to the 25 car, Brad Keselowski, the young man making his very first ever NASCAR Sprint Cup start. He was the first car lap down and will be able to get back on the lead lap now, putting 29 cars back on the lead lap. Now, who will come and who will stay?
Well, the green flag's out at the end of pit road, so the pit road is open this time by.
I think if you come, especially up front, you're going to have to get 2 tires. But we see Carl Edwards and a number of them, everybody staying out there. Here comes Junior.
Like Junior's coming in. We'll see a few behind him. They're thinking they may even have a loose wheel in that car. Jimmy Johnson's in also.
I'd have to say they're going to make some adjustments there. But this is kind of Jimmy Johnson, the way they do things in these type races that go to the nighttime. Dave?
Matt Kenseth is in. Remember, they're working hard on that car, wanted to take a big swing. They wanted to come back in to make a track bar adjustment, go down on that a little bit, still a little bit loose on that little run they just took, Mike.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. hitting down pit road. They hesitated a little bit, but Dale Earnhardt Jr. thought he had a loose wheel. Not going to take any chances this early in the race. They'll come in, they'll take 4, and also make another adjustment on the race car. Meanwhile, Jimmy Johnson, they continue to go to work on that race car. Another turn of the chassis wrench on that car, and 4 more tires in the 48.
So from 8th on back, the cars on the lead lap have come back on the pit road for adjustments. You heard Dale Earnhardt Jr. You might have caught a bit of a break thinking he might have a loose wheel or a loose tire. Able to come back in and get some more adjustments on some of these cars. Carl Edwards second in the points. Right now he is leading the race at Texas Motor Speedway. Hopes to be the last man standing when this day is done. Texas Motor Speedway. What a scenic area to come through, Central Texas. No wonder these folks are so proud of their heritage down here. Wide open country, wide open stock car racing. We love coming here twice a year. So do all the fans and the NASCAR drivers. Now the reason for the caution flag, the 41 car, Reed Sorensen smoking. And that's what brought out the yellow flag. And why don't we check in with our Tim Brewer in the ESPN Tech Center and try to find out why.
There's an awful lot of oil in these cars. Matter of fact, they hold 4.5 gallons for these 500-mile events, but this oil reservoir sits behind the driver in a steel case beneath the car. But anytime you leave one of these oil lines loose, the oil blows back on the headers. These headers are about 1,300 degrees. You're going to have a lot of smoke, just like we did with the 41 car right here.
Thanks, Tim. Our Chevy cutaway car, pretty easy to see now how that can happen in a hurry, and suddenly you got problems like these guys are having now.
Well, it's not supposed to happen. You're supposed to have those lines, you know, tight enough where they don't leak, but that's what happened. They tightened it up. They'll need to put a little bit of oil back in it because they don't want to take a chance on running the car low on oil toward the end of the race.
Lap 63 of 334. We have had 5 lead changes, 5 different leaders. Carl Edwards is our leader. Clint Bowyer's actually led twice for a 36 lap. Jeff Gordon led the first 15. David Rudiman led 4 laps. Earnhardt Jr. led 4 laps. And now Carl Edwards is leading his 8th consecutive lap. Top 11 cars as they're running on the racetrack right now did not pit. The first car that did come on pit road for an adjustment in tires would be back in 12th position, David Ragan.
It'll be interesting to see. We heard Jeff Gordon say something yesterday during the final practice that after these tires were run one time, they lost a lot of their grip. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects these guys that stayed out.
15 car, Paul Menard. He's the first car on lap down on the inside for the restart. Here comes Carl and Clint Bowyer.
Jamie McMurray not wasting any time going to the high side of David Rudiman, trying to take away that 3rd spot.
That 42 car was on the move. Coming off turn 2, he kind of surprised Jeff Gordon. Jeff had to get out of the throttle. He gets a couple of spots. Look at it. He's going for more right here.
Juan Pablo Montoya is on a mission, guys.
He really is. These are lap cars on the bottom, but he's got a great car up top.
Just in front of him, that's David Rudiman, who looks like he's struggling a little bit right now, but Greg Biffle has moved up and into that 4th spot.
Rudiman lost a few spots on that restart. He was 3rd when they got the green flag. That time by, he was 5th.
This car looks like it takes a few laps to come in. But Biffle's made a nice gain from the start of this race going forward.
3 of the top 4 are Roush Fenway cars in terms of Edwards the leader, McMurray 3rd, and Biffle 4th. Greg Biffle won the first 2 races in the chase here in 2008. Was hoping to be able to keep it close until they got to Homestead, where he is so good. But he said when we asked him this week, he is ready to pounce if anyone makes a mistake.
I can't do anything about the 48 or the 99 or the 31. All I can do is do the best I can, you know, with my car. So I try not to get too caught up in that. The biggest thing is if they go out of the race with an engine failure or a flat, or they're back in the fence, or they're getting a wreck with somebody, is then you get the butterflies in your stomach that okay, now is the opportunity. I hope nothing happens to me.
That's all you can control is what you and your team can do. You go out there and do the very best that you can. And right now, Greg's doing a pretty good job, as you see him on the back bumper of Clint Bowyer trying to take away that 2nd spot.
I can assure you it's a whole lot easier to chase somebody than it is to try to beat that leader. And that's what's going on here with this 16 team. They don't have anything to lose. They're going to hang it all out and see what they can do. What's going on,
They really
Jackie?
don't, Andy. I actually talked to his crew chief, Greg Irwin, this morning, and he looked stressed out. He said, we're in a point right now that there's a sense of urgency. We must get back to victory lane. We're 3rd in points. We're not throwing this championship away. We need to throw everything we have at it. We need to have solid runs. Top 10 isn't good enough. We must win as he tries to hunt down the 07 of Clint Bowyer.
Well, you think he's a nervous wreck when he's behind in point trying to chase Jimmy Johnson? What do you think Chad is? He's got that lead. It's a lot easier to be in this position, but they do need to win races and try to put some pressure on that 48 team.
All of these guys are under a lot of pressure to perform, and when you get yourself in that position, then you want to do as good as you can. And it's kind of 2 different scenarios. You got one guy nervous because he's out front trying to protect that, and another guy trying to chase him down and stay in that top 5 of the points.
Here's the 24 car of Jeff Gordon. They've made some adjustments on that stop. Mike, what's the status?
Well, the car still is not perfect, but as Steve Letarte told Jeff Gordon just before we went green this afternoon, he said the key to today is patience. And that was the general sentiment of the radio conversation just before they went green moments ago.
Just like we talked, man. It's going to be a battle
We're going to use a pit stall. We're going to use the track position we started with. We still got good track position. It's going to help us out all day long. I mean, we've already lapped one qualifying out the bunch. We've got a long, long night to get even better.
And they tried to remedy the problem last time down pit road. Just with air pressure adjustments, they went down on the left rear tire, that is, trying to correct that car, trying to make it just a little bit better. They're loose off right now.
His teammate in a pretty good battle, or was a moment ago, the 29 car of Kevin Harvick has blown by Earnhardt Jr. to take that 16th spot away. Now he's moving in on the 5 car of Casey Mears.
Yeah, these guys were 3 wide a while ago coming off of turn 2. They're lucky they're still going here. The way that it looked, it could have been an accident in the Bruin. But Kevin Harvick's looking pretty good. Shannon?
Kevin Harvick qualified for this race 23rd today. I spoke with his crew chief, Todd Barrier, who told me that was the perfect place for them to start. He said, I like Kevin starting in the back of the field because when he passes all the cars at the beginning of the race, it creates positive momentum. He said the past few weeks, starting with the field lined up on points, has really hurt us because we haven't gotten that momentum at the beginning of the race. In fact, he said, I would have even liked to have started at 30th. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know if I like that. But whatever works for them, great. But yeah, that is one way. If you have a good car starting in the back, you pass a lot of cars, it does build some confidence.
Pretty dicey group back here. The 12 car of Ryan Newman, Robbie Gordon. How about the 26 car? McMurray just goes right beneath the 07 for position. Now, how about that Roush Fenway cars, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd?
Pretty strong performance so far, and I think we expected that. We alluded to that in the pre-race that we better watch these guys.
Well, I expected it, but I expected Matt Kenseth to be the guy. He's 11th right now. He's not out of it by no means, but the Roush cars are definitely strong. Dave?
And Andy, Jamie wasn't sure that he would be the guy to beat today in the Roush cars either. Of course, he's still trying to catch up to Carl, but I said, how good's your race car during a ride around the track? And he said, not as good as Charlotte and Atlanta, where I practiced a lot better. He finished 5th at Charlotte and Atlanta last week. He finished 7th. But he said it's not bad. So I think even his car right now is surprising him.
That's a good surprise when your car is better than what you anticipated it was going to be. So many times it's kind of the other way around.
Almost always seems like it's the other way around. There's the cat in the hat, Jack Roush.
Jack Roush, his cars have won 6 times at Texas Motor Speedway. That is 3 times more than any other car owner in NASCAR Sprint Cup. These guys basically have owned this place over the years.
They have. You're Jamie McMurray, and they're talking about changing. They've already said they're going to change crew chiefs for next year as good as they're running.
Yeah, what's that about?
Well, I don't know. They have a great chemistry going right here and at this point of the year, but I don't know what's driving that, but they're planning on changing crew chiefs for the 26th.
I believe if I was Jamie McMurray, I'd be going and knocking on doors and say, hey, Mr. Cat in the Hat, let me talk about that a little bit here. Carl Edwards, our leader. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
Riding on board with the race leader, Carl Edwards, as we come to you from our ESPN pit studio. Alan Destrick, Rusty Wallace, and Brad Daugherty. Edwards out in front by 4.3 seconds on Jamie McMurray. Meanwhile, the man that he's trying to chase down for the Sprint Cup Championship in this race is sliding backwards. Jimmy restarted 17th a little while ago. He's running 24th now.
Yeah, the car's not looking good at all. In fact, he pitted back there again a little bit later on. I believe it was like lap 57 or something, guys. And he put 4 tires on, which you would think would make the car better. And Brad, it's actually got worse.
Yeah, he seems to be really struggling with grip. But I'll tell you what, I'm just not putting anything past this 48 team. I'm going to wait till the end of the day when the sun goes down a little bit to see if they can make their charge. They're so good at the end of the race, but right now it's a struggle.
Let's find out what they're saying in the championship leaders pits. Mike, what do you got?
Well, I think Brad has some pretty good insight because Chad just came over to the radio to Jimmy and said, hey, look, be patient. You know this car. This is the car, I remind you, that they had a week ago when they kind of waffled around in mediocrity most of the afternoon, but then they bolted on those 4 tires in that last restart and finished second. So Chad reminding Jimmy that this car will come to him eventually. The one thing they're unable to do right now that they'd like to do, they want to run toward the top of the racetrack. They've made some adjustments to try to help Jimmy do that, but early on he was unable to get that accomplished.
All right, Mike, thanks. So Jimmy running in 25th place right now. We will keep an eye on him, while we're also keeping an eye on the lead car, Carl Edwards, who's quickly closing on the back of that pack. Well, wouldn't he love to put Jimmy Johnson a lap down?
Oh, you know, Carl Edwards could see him up there, and he's just going to run as hard as he can and try to lap Johnson as fast as he possibly can. I mean, Johnson's big trouble right now, guys.
Of course, as we saw at Atlanta last week, Rusty, having Jimmy a lap down doesn't mean anything early in the race. Right. He came back from that and had that second place finish. How about a look at our Ford up to speed? Got 3 Fords running up front, Dave.
Alan, the guy who said he could dominate this weekend is starting to, even though the championship isn't in their hands. That, according to crew chief Bob Osborne, who told me that takes some of the pressure off. It's not huge pressure. We'd rather have, though, the opportunity to have the championship in our hands. It's not quite as much fun this way. Behind him is teammate Jamie McMurray. He stopped for a car that just failed to turn a little like the way he wanted to on the first run. Air pressure adjustment to work on that. During the oil down caution, they stayed on the track to keep their track position. Jamie?
And Greg Biffle on a charge. He's starting 19th, up to 3rd right now. It's all Roush Fenway, the top 3. Greg Biffle, of course, your 2005 winner. He says now the car, the balance, pretty good. They're going to keep digging, just a little bit loose. Behind him, Clint Boyer dominated the first part of this race. He's running 4th right now. Cars, okay, he said he's getting loose too as the sun is setting. It's actually getting warmer on the racetrack, and you're hearing more about the car conditions getting looser. And Clint Boyer, of course, saying last weekend was his mulligan. He finished 20th, worst chase finish, and he's looking for a rebound. Dave?
How can David Rudiman a little loose off that corner. How can he help his team the most? He said, anticipate and communicate. He said this track is going to change. He told me I need to get that info to my crew early enough so that they can work with that. They need my feedback. Jamie?
Juan Pablo Montoya, this brand new race car is working to his benefit. He started 26th, and he told me right before he got in the car, he said, I'm loving these mile-and-a-half racetracks because you can move around anywhere. You don't have to stay at the bottom, don't have to stay at the top. Go wherever you want. You see him running the high line there. He's making his way to the front in 6th. Mike?
Jeff Gordon has been struggling with the same condition all afternoon so far. That's tight. He says when he touches the throttle, it starts to push. Again, Steve Letarte has preached patience to him, telling him that once the sun goes down, the car will get better. He says, though, when I'm in traffic, it's tighter than it's ever been. He really wants to get some clean air, Jamie.
And Kyle Busch started way in the back, 29th, all the way up to 8th. He just asked on the radio, what's wrong with the 48? So definitely paying attention to the drivers around him. Of course, he hasn't had the best of chases. Pretty happy with this car, and especially after last night, he won his 10th nationwide race of the season. That ties Sam Ard, the great Sam Ard's record for most wins in a season. It was a big day for Joe Gibbs in the nationwide. They hope to make it to victory lane today. Behind him, Martin Truex Jr. This team threw all kinds of things at their car. They're sitting 15th in points, and they figure, hey, they have nothing to lose. They're going for the win. So far, so good. The car didn't start off as good as he wanted. He started 2nd, slipped back to 9th, and that's pretty much where he's been riding around. Dave?
We saw Matt Kenseth on pit road twice already to try to help a very, very loose race car. Have they made any headway?
It seems like we made some improvements over that last adjustment. It still rides like crap, but less crappier than everybody else, I guess. Okay, started off a little tight at the 2/3 mark. It's coming around now it's getting loose again, in and off.
Write it down, Alan. A little less crappier than everyone else. He's picked up 4 positions since the restart, so I guess that's good.
Gotta love a quote like that, that's for sure. So there you go, updates on the top 10 as we run now with 90 laps complete of the 334 in today's Dickies 500. Carl Edwards is the race leader. Pit stops about 20 laps away. We're back to Texas after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
Edwards leading the Dickies 500 at Texas, and there is Jimmy Johnson behind him because a moment ago Carl Edwards put Jimmy Johnson 1 lap down. Johnson back in 29th position. Here's what happened.
This 48 car is struggling big time right now. I don't know what is going on, but he's got something going on where he can't hardly make any lap times.
Yeah, it looked like some of the adjustments, they might have got this car just really tight. He can't be around cars. He can't get to the throttle. He's having to get out of the throttle off the corner. So you can see Carl go by and put him a lap down.
What do you think Carl thinks right there when he goes by?
Well, he's probably thinking the positive. He's probably not thinking back to Atlanta and saying, well, we saw this action last week. But he's probably saying, hey, this is the best scenario right now. This is our chance, and we're going to pounce on him.
And here are the point standings. Look now, Edwards is pulled to within 64 points of Jimmy Johnson. And Carl Edwards said this week, if I can get to Homestead, next week, folks, is Phoenix, and the final race is Homestead. Said if I can get to Homestead inside of 100 points, we are in really, really good shape because Jimmy Johnson has not won at Homestead. Carl has run well there. And Greg Biffle is a 3-time winner at Homestead Miami Speedway. So, folks, don't go away. It is really tightening up.
The trick for Carl Edwards now is to get this done by the end of the race.
Yeah.
And don't give these guys a chance. Don't let them back into this race.
Yeah.
Try to keep them down.
As you can see, we're just getting ready to go to lap 100 of 334. So there's a lot happening here today.
I'd say Chad Knaus is down there trying to figure out what he's going to do to try to reverse this trend.
And he needs to be able to pass the 55 and put him a lap down so that the 48 would not get the free pass on a caution flag. Let's listen into the 48 radio here of Jimmy Johnson.
My biggest deal is down in 3 and 4. I just haven't had the side bite with the back of the car to get in there and sit on the right rear tire or use the throttle.
It sounds like Jimmy's fighting loose more than anything. He's just not able to lean on that right rear like he needs to.
Watch our DirecTV telemetry. Watch him just really feathering that throttle.
It takes him forever. You see he's way up on the straightaway before he can get full throttle. But he does carry a little momentum now and holds Danny McMurray off for at least another straightaway. You can see right through the middle of the corner. He's really struggling right there. Just like he said, he can't get any side bite.
Yeah, so therefore he can't let the car roll. He's having to use more brake than what he wants to, and that's hurting his straightaway speed then, his exit and then straightaway speed.
Greg Biffle coming into the picture right here, too.
7 car just scraped the wall right in front of our leader a moment ago. Robbie Gordon there. He's had some issues. This is a backup car. He had some
get
issues.
It again, right? Yeah. He's been trying to do this all day long. I've watched him. He's been close. We talked about the 42 car being up there. Robbie Gordon's been tempting this every single lap, I can tell you. And it's amazing how close. Well, let's.
And 4, Rob, I got you. Let's get the bear bond ready.
No, get a piece of steel. You're going to need an angle for a piece of steel. We're going to need the angle back.
Yeah, he's talking about that rear bumper, that rear trailing edge of the rear bumper he's gotten against the wall. See how it's knocked some of the racing away, and he's saying he needs that back out there because that gives the car a whole lot of side force and really contributes to the handling of the car, so he wants to get it fixed.
Yeah, we talked about how as he's loose again coming off of turn 2, as we've talked about a number of times, he's really been kind of skirting the edge with that rear end skewed out there quite a bit, trying to utilize that. Now he's knocked it back.
Battle for 16th position, 31 car, Jeff Burton, the 88 of Dale Earnhardt Jr. Remember, Jeff Burton started back in 35th position, but he typically starts in the 30s and ends up in the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, he's running a little bit right now. Junior's making a nice run forward here in this longer run. See him right against the wall. The difference in like we see some of these guys, like Junior right there, stayed right against the wall on the exit of the corner. And that 42 car that we've been watching earlier, he's able to really turn his car down straighter off of there and use make the straightaway even longer than what these guys are.
8 car of Mark Martin right side of your screen there. He is moving in also to try to take a spot away from the 31. And by the way, Mark will run this race and the Phoenix race and will not compete at Homestead. That will end his DEI association here in Phoenix, and of course run full-time in 2009 with Hendrick Motorsports. Jimmy Johnson will not get the lucky dog of the free pass because other cars now have been lapped. Johnson being shown in 29th position, and folks, the points lead down to 64 points. Carl Edwards is our leader. Carl Edwards leading here at Texas Motor Speedway, about 5 laps away from pit stops, and the car comes in a little bit early. Kyle Busch, yesterday's NASCAR Nationwide Series, decides to come in short pit.
He's not pitting short about too many laps. The other guys will be in here shortly to get their scheduled stops. Some of the other cars that made that pit stop under caution can go a little farther. You see Mark Martin now pulling down pit road. He's in his pit stop getting tires.
Being shown in 16th position when he came in. An adjustment there.
Bobby Labonte's going to be coming in on pit road also as Mark Martin makes his pit stop.
6th place car, Juan Pablo Montoya, will also come down pit road to make his stop. There's Juan Pablo. A little damage, a little scraping on the right side.
He's been running within a quarter of an inch of that wall. Jamie?
And Juan Pablo Montoya extremely happy with this car. He says he's just a little loose off on power tight in the center. They're going to make a round of wedge adjustment and 4 tires for the 42. He's had a heck of a run today. And Martin Truex Jr., he's in his pit box as well. Pretty happy at this point. Remember, he started second, been running around the top 10. 4 tires, took a tear off that front windshield, and fuel for the 1 car. Dave?
Jamie McMurray is on pit road for a 4-tire change. It'll be an air pressure adjustment for him. He says the car is pretty good. It started loose off, now it's just a little bit loose in, but I wouldn't change much. Larry Carter sends him back on his way. Shannon?
Kevin Harvick has been battling loose conditions all race. On the last pit stop, they took a big whack at it. They put a rubber in the right rear spring. Right now, they're just going to go for air pressure on this 29 car. 4 tires for Kevin Harvick. Dave?
The leader is on pit road. They will make a wedge adjustment and an air pressure adjustment for Kyle. He said it was losing a little overall grip, a little free into the corner, tight in the center, a little bit loose off. This is an adjustment that should take them toward the end of this day. The track is changing, and that change was very good for the 99 crew.
Great pit stop for Carl Edwards bunch, 12.8 seconds. It was pit problems yesterday that caused him trouble in the Nationwide car. Mike.
Jeff Gordon's been battling a tight race car most of the afternoon. They tried to correct it with air pressure last time down pit road. Jeff's response to Steve Letarte, it didn't really work that well. Still, that's the direction they're going on this stop. No chassis adjustments, just air pressure on the 24, Dave.
David Rudiman has lost 1 position during this run. He said at the beginning that it was going south in a hurry, but he maintained his position except for that 1 spot. So this will just be an air pressure change for Rudiman with 4 tires and Sunoco fuel. Mike?
And Jimmy Johnson has been struggling mightily in the early stages of this race. The chassis wrench going now in on the right side. They'll make a wedge adjustment there. 4-tire change on Johnson's car, trying to help him a little bit better. So far, he's not been able to run the top of the racetrack. That's where he wants to be this afternoon, Dave.
Tony Stewart laboring in about the 20th position before this round of green flag pit stops. He's on and off of pit road. He was saying the car still needed to rotate the center better, and he needed forward bite. They tried to help him while he was on pit road.
Denny Hamlin, after that good run at Atlanta, same car he led 56 laps with. Let's go down to Shannon.
David Reagan in that 6 car still struggling with grip, just like everybody else on the racetrack. You see that chassis adjustment right there, trying to get him tightened up just a little bit. 4 tires for the number 6 of David Reagan.
17 of Matt Kenseth trying to get the car to come to him. Dave.
And remember, he came back in during the oil down caution, so they had a little bit more time on the track to get that car around and hopefully get a caution. They did not get it, so they have to come for 4 tires. And as he said, the car's a little bit better, and you didn't see any wrenches going into the back of that car this time. A little better car for Matt Kenseth.
25, Brad Keselowski coming in. Whoa! And nearly gets it sideways, gathers it back up. Jamie.
Oh, how his heart must be pumping, Doc. This is just the 2nd pit stop he's making in his first Sprint Cup Series debut. Yesterday, struggling to find speed, but he went down to his old teammates, Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Earnhardt Jr. They figured it out. He made the field. Quick pit stop, 14.9, Mike.
And Dale Earnhardt Jr. heading down pit road right now as well, saying his car's a little bit tight. Team waiting for him to hit his marks and head down into his box. Expect a 4-tire change, and they'll try to loosen him up here with a wedge adjustment on the right side of the race car. Team going to work now on the right side. They complete their service now. Swing over to the left side. A very smooth stop for the 88 team so far. The jack is up. Tires are on. 5 lug nuts are hit. He's away.
They are black flagging the 19 car for an uncontrolled tire. He'll have to come back down pit road. Elliott Sadler. Here's the 83 car on pit road. Brian Vickers.
Brian had assumed the lead. Mike?
And Brian Vickers has done a ton of work already this afternoon. Had to start at the back because of a motor problem in practice. They've stormed their way toward the front. And last time down pit road, they took just 2 tires. This time 4, and he's away.
So we have cycled through our 2nd set of pit stops, these under the green flag. Carl Edwards is back as our leader. Jimmy Johnson, who he's chasing in the points, is actually chasing him on the racetrack. Johnson 1 lap down, back in 30th position. There are just 23 cars on the lead laps. And how about the point standings? Right now it is narrowed to 61 points. That's the differential. Carl Edwards moving in on Jimmy Johnson.
Champions coverage of the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series on ABC. Brought to you by Toyota, moving forward. And Allstate. Are you in good hands?
Race 8 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup at the Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth. Carl Edwards trying to ride off into the sunset, a race that will end after the sun sets under the Speedway's lights. And Edwards, after the exchange of pit stops, leading Jamie McMurray by 3.2 seconds, trying to close some ground on Jimmy Johnson in this championship race. There's a look back beyond from Edwards to the second place McMurray car, that 26 machine. As for Jimmy Johnson, he's running in 29th place. He is the 7th car, 1 lap down after the pit stop, but this radio traffic after the crew had a look at the car during the pit stop.
Good job, man. Great job. Go get him, brother. We found a little something that was wrong, so you're good now. We'll get this back.
Well, really no surprise for those of us who know Chad Knaus. How do you win 3 championships in a row, Alan? You don't tell anybody what your secrets are. Kind of playing it close to the vest today, Chad Knaus speaking in code, telling his driver he knows what the problem is, not telling him exactly what that problem is, but you can be sure they've got a game plan to go to work and fix it. Radio transmission not too long ago, Jimmy saying the car's still a little bit loose.
All right, Mike, thanks. And inside the pit studio with Rusty Wallace, Brad Daugherty, watching the lap times for Jimmy Johnson now. Yeah, it's fixed.
Yeah, Johnson's got some great lap times going on right now. In fact, that last time by, he was the 2nd fastest car on the racetrack. So, you know, Chad's not telling us what they found wrong, but definitely something was wrong, and they fixed it now. Now, they do have time to get this lap back.
Or they've been great all years on pit road, so he will get his placing back as they make the pit stops. They'll advance him and get him back up in the lead group.
And you see the championship standings as they run. Carl Edwards having closed to 64 points, and Jimmy Johnson, Greg Biffle having closed to within 100 points of Johnson. But again, as they run, and there's a lot of racing left to go today for Johnson to make up positions and finish somewhere up toward the front of this field. The key thing to watch in this segment of the race: how many spots can Johnson make up to get himself toward the first car 1 lap down? And if a caution should come out, what work Johnson's crew can do on pit road to get him in position for that free pass to be that first car 1 lap down.
Alan, that is a great point for you Jimmy Johnson fans. You remember what happened in Atlanta last week when he got all the way back to 30th position, 1 lap down, and the guys on pit road made the difference. They got him out to get him the free pass under the caution. So a lot yet can happen. Johnson right now in 29th position. Carl Edwards, though, guys, is mowing them down. He's moving in on some other guys to try to put him a lap down, including Kurt Busch, Hamlin, Stewart, and Earnhardt Jr. These guys he's going to hope to catch here in the next 10 or 12 laps.
And that's going to be Jimmy Johnson's biggest thing, is how fast Carl Edwards is running. As we ride along, we can see Greg Biffle here running around the bottom of the racetrack. But Carl Edwards is coming up on some really good cars. Kurt Busch, Denny Hamlin, Tony Stewart, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. are going to be in this group. And you put these guys a lap down, then this is much more difficult teams to try to overcome than what Jimmy had to last week. So Carl Edwards is making short work of a lot of people here and doing exactly what he needs to do to get the most points, leading the most laps.
Update the 2 car. Shannon.
Doc, despite the fact that Kurt Busch qualified 40th for this race, the team was very optimistic coming into the race today. They were 3rd fastest in happy hour practice, but as soon as that green flag dropped today, they have been struggling. Kurt Busch said he almost wrecked on the first couple laps, and they have been working on that car all day just trying to get it right, as right now he is getting passed by your leader, Carl Edwards.
ABC Thursday at 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 9 Central, an all-new Life on Mars. The next great cop show has arrived, starring Michael Imperioli, Harvey Keitel, and Jason Amaro, after the all-new Grey's Anatomy. Coming up ABC Thursday at 10 Eastern.
I see Carl's having a little more difficulty putting these guys a lap down. Kurt Busch wasn't willing to give up that spot just yet and go a lap down on the racetrack. Carl's getting back, trying to regroup.
Brian Vickers and the 1 car, Martin Truex Jr., battling for 9th position.
What a nice job this 83 team's done, moving all the way up into the top 10. We saw him take a brief lead there right before the green flag stops, but this team's been moving on the moves from the start of the race.
Yeah, they had to start in the rear because they changed engines. They had an engine problem yesterday in the final practice session, so they chose to change that engine and had to start in the rear, so moved themselves into the top 10.
Remember, Brian Vickers has been very good on mile-and-a-half racetracks, particularly at Lowe's Motor Speedway, where he led a ton of laps back in May and also led laps here in October. Hasn't been able to catch a break, though, to put it together for a top 5 finish yet, but having a good run here.
Yeah, so is Martin Truex, who started on the outside of the front row here today. He's going to give Brian that outside and not battle him and contest that too much at this point in time, but still a nice run and still inside the top 10 for Martin Truex.
Jimmy Johnson now able to go by some of the cars that were also a lap down in front of him. He just gone by Michael Waltrip. Trying to move in on Ryan Newman and Scott Briggs.
And this is what Jimmy Johnson will have to do, is ride along with him, is to pass these guys on the racetrack and get as many of them as he can here, and then hope that he gets that caution flag to where his pit crew could give him a little more of an advantage like we saw happen at Atlanta last week.
Definitely got two different agendas with the 48 team versus the 99. Carl Edwards needs to go out there and just put as many guys a lap down and run as hard as he possibly can, because that's going to, and Jimmy doesn't need to wreck the car. That's one thing. That's an agenda for sure, but they need to just stay focused, the 48 team, and they've got the car running a lot better. They just need to make up spot by spot, one at a time.
In the garage area this morning, a lot of NASCAR drivers were talking about upsets in college football here in the state of Texas last night. Number 1 was upset. Totally changed the complexion of the national championship race. And oh, by the way, the Heisman race. And they were saying, what if number 1 in NASCAR could be upset today? What if Jimmy Johnson would have issues? Carl Edwards is trying to pull off his imitation of the Texas Tech Red Raiders and upset Jimmy Johnson and the 48 team. Right now, he's getting it done. Edwards has led twice for 73 laps. He wants to be the last man standing. 27 laps away from halfway here in the Dickies 500 at Texas. Carl Edwards is our lead car. There are currently just 20 cars on the lead lap, and the 20 car is the Lance Carl on the lead lap, and Carl moving in on former Texas winner Tony Stewart. Let's go down to the pits and Dave Burns.
Well, guys, where you pick on pit road is what order you pick it is determined on where you qualify. And Carl Edwards qualified 16th. That's his pit stall right there on the far end of pit road. Pit in, turn 4. That's not a typical spot to pick. But if you look at the choice they had, Bob Osborne told me this morning we could have picked up near the head of pit road where there was a better way out, except for the fact that the available space was right between the 8th and the 24. Whose teammates are those? Jimmy Johnson's. And we'll remember, even though they might deny it, there was some gamesmanship going on pit road last week between Carl Edwards and the 48 team. Bob Osborne said, there's one pit stall I didn't want to pick in between 2 of his teammates.
That'd be a pretty smart move by Bob.
Yeah, I think that was a great move. The only other thing he could have done is if he pitted down there, he could try to little gamesmanship on these pit stops to rattle them a little bit, but this is the best way to do it. Just do your talking on the racetrack like Carl Edwards is doing right here.
Yeah, but you're outnumbered down there with the other teammates around you, boy.
Well, there is that.
Carl Edwards, our leader. Jamie McMurray in second spot. Biffle is third.
Debris.
Second caution flag of the day. Debris over in turn 2. Jimmy Johnson in 27th position. He would not get the free pass.
Looks like Stewart. Tony Stewart will be the first car 1 lap down.
Yeah, Tony just got passed by Jimmy Johnson, so he's going to get that
Still
free
just
pass.
a little free there. I'd say free in, free off. Free in, probably loose off. The center starts to get a little comfortable for me and a little tight where I have to put some wheel to it. So I still think we need to look at something to free the center up and tighten up the entry and exit if it's possible.
That's a 48 radio we're listening to. And remember, it was a caution flag at Atlanta like this where the lap cars like Jimmy Johnson had to come down, and his crew got him out first among the lap cars and allowed him, and the next yellow came out to get that lap back. And that's how they really got back on the lead lap last weekend.
He's going to have his hands full right here on pit road because you got the 2 car, the 10 car, Denny Hamlin, the 11 car. A lot of cars that are on lap down that they're going to have to beat off of pit road. Looks like he's about the 6th car, 7th car in line. that is 1 lap down. And those lap down cars will not pit the first time. The leaders pit first, and then the next lap you'll see the lap down cars come down.
Debris being picked up all along. Some of these guys have been up scraping the wall and just peeling some of that sharp sheet metal away. These guys are up on it here, ready to bring them down. It'll be the 3rd pit stop of the day for the field. Greg Biffle's bunch. McMurray, what a job he has done. 2nd position for Jamie McMurray. And there's the leader's pits, Carl Edwards. Let's go down to Dave Burns.
Leader Carl Edwards said on that run the car is pretty good, but just a little bit freer, especially on the short run. Crew Chief Bob Osborne has called for a wedge adjustment in that car, a 4-tire change. In 2nd place, Jamie McMurray comes down pit road. He'll also get 4 tires and fill the car up with Sunoco fuel. He wants an air pressure adjustment back that they had made on the last run. Also a tear off the front of that car so we can see better. Jamie?
And it's an all Roush Fenway triple split. Greg Biffle on the bottom there. You said something was funny the way the car was driving after that last track bar adjustment. So they're going to go back up on that track bar, make 3/4 of a round of wedge and 4 tires and fuel for the 16. Mike?
Jeff Gordon now saying he's sliding sideways in the corner and plowing in the middle. The air pressure adjustments they've made have not worked. They're going to go to work on the track bar this time. Up. And they'll make a 4-tire change and take on Sunoco race fuel for Jeff Gordon.
Crews keep working, trying to dial them in. There's Earnhardt Jr.'s guys getting out. Watch the race off here. Close there between the 99 and the 83 of Vickers. Biffle. McMurray coming off. Now those are the lead lap cars. Now the lap down cars will be coming in next time by, which means that Jimmy Johnson and company, Riggs, Waltrip, Hornish, all these guys will be coming back in.
This is going to be a big pit stop for Jimmy Johnson's crew to see. Even if they don't get him out in the very first spot, if they can just gain some spots and give him a chance to pass those other cars as we go back to green, then that'll give him a chance to be in that position.
He would have had to pass 7 more cars on the racetrack to be able to get that free pass. And these guys, Chad Canal's talking, these guys know that they got a shot, but they got some, as you said, Andy, some pretty good cars are going to have to beat off pit road.
They're a great pit crew and team, so we'll see what they've got here.
Their biggest competition might be Denny Hamlin in the 2 car.
Now,
Mike.
Jimmy Johnson in. They've been working on this car all afternoon, guys. Free in, free off. But believe it or not, he can stand to be a little bit more free. They're going to try to do that with a wedge adjustment and a track bar adjustment, both on the right side of the car. 4-tire change, trying to give Jimmy the car he needs to get back on the lead lap and compete for a strong finish here and for that 3rd championship. Trying to get as many points as he possibly can, guys.
So 7 cars will beat the 48 off of pit road. Some of them did some tire strategy. We'll update what they did when we come back. Back at the Dickies 500 Texas Motor Speedway, Fort Worth, Texas, under caution for the 2nd time today. Carl Edwards will lead him down. The pace car pulls away. We have 19 cars on the lead lap. Edwards the leader. Jimmy Johnson gained 1 position on that pit stop. He is back in 26th spot. The 2nd place car, Brian Vickers, only took 2 tires. That's why he gained so much ground on pit road. We'll see if he can try to hang on there in front of Biffle. And there's the point separation, 73 points now. Edwards behind.
There's actually 2 guys that got out in front of Carl Edwards here on this restart. Kurt Busch, who was the first car on the inside, and then A.J. Allmendinger. They both cleared Carl Edwards.
So Kurt Busch would be on the tail end of the lead lap, as would Allmendinger. Haven't said much about Allmendinger, but what a great job he has done in 2 starts for that Gillette Evernham team. 15th at Martinsville, 14th last week at Atlanta.
Running really well here today. Got lap just before that caution came out. They're doing a nice job for everybody at Gillette Evernham. See Jimmy Johnson right here. Man, he's just driving that thing hard, which he does all the time. Obviously, that's why he's a champion, but just really trying to get him back in a position now that he could take advantage of that lucky dog situation.
The biggest thing is he's a lap down having to race cars he doesn't normally race with. He can find himself in a tight spot, which we see right here, 3 wide down the backstretch.
That's his teammate, Brad Keselowski, the 25 car up high. He finally is able to get around the 38 of Gilliland.
Whoa, see the 25 getting real loose, getting into 3. That's the thing. You just worry about when you're racing some of these cars like this, that they can do some things that you don't expect. That could be the thing I would worry about the most in Jimmie Johnson's situation right now.
Yeah, that's certainly the time, the things and the time that he has the least control over, and it could happen on these restarts. And again, and just like you pointed out, racing with guys he's not accustomed to racing with, you just don't know what's going to happen in those situations. See a lot of racing going on here.
Montoya inside of Marcus Ambrose.
Marcus doing a good job today. And that little Debbie Toyota. Getting some experience for next year.
Ambrose is the 47 car, making only his 9th start of the year, running full-time in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Will run here full-time next year in a Toyota. JTG Doherty Racing, the 1 car. That is Truex back in 9th position.
Jimmie Johnson's moved all the way to 23rd spot now.
29 car, right side of your screen, Kevin Harvick moving on the bottom of the racetrack, trying to slide beneath the 24 of Jeff Gordon. That would be for 12th spot. Shannon?
Kevin Harvick right now is driving the same car he had last week in Atlanta. They struggled with this car there. They've been struggling with this car here. On the pit stop on lap 111, they put air into the left rear. The car was so bad, Kevin said it was the worst it's been all day. They went back on that air pressure and added another rubber to the right rear spring. So right now, Kevin Harvick just struggling with that car.
'55 car, Michael Waltrip, and the 9 car of Casey Kane racing on the track. Kane having a good run. He's back in 14th position. '55 car of Michael Waltrip showing a lap down in 28th spot.
Yeah, we're starting to see this racetrack change already. We're getting the whole front stretch, and the majority of turns 1 and 2 is under shade. A lot of the exit of turn 4 has gotten that. So we're just continuing to get into the situation now that this racetrack's going to change, and these crew chiefs are really going to have a lot to keep up with here in these next pit stops.
Can't say enough about the Roush Fenway guys. McMurray in the 26 car, slipping and sliding a little bit there going in the corner. That opens up the inside for Greg Biffle. Oh, and again McMurray.
McMurray sticks his hand out and said, okay, I've had enough.
Yeah.
Or give me a little room.
Yes, saying thank you for not hitting me whenever I was sideways right there.
The 2nd and 3rd place cars here. Biffle now moving to the inside to take the 2nd spot away.
Yeah, I think Greg Biffle might be sitting there kind of laying and waiting for the track conditions to cool down just a little bit. I think he might have a car that he can get up and battle Carl Edwards with. He hasn't shown to this point, but again, the track's going to change a lot, and Greg Biffle's a smart racer and knowing that's going to happen, so not making too many adjustments on that car as he is up in 2nd spot right now.
Jack Roush's cars have won 6 times at this racetrack. That's 3 times more than anybody else, any other owner. And right now his cars are running 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. So we asked Jack Roush about the setup for the future of Roush Fenway.
Winning a race with the guys that haven't won, that's a big deal. Building the team strong so that we can be in the best place we can be in to put all 5 of our teams in the chase next year is a big concern. And of course, if Jimmie happens to stumble for 2 out of these 3 races, you know, to be able to be circling in the area with enough presence and enough performance to be able to capitalize on that and hopefully deliver a championship for Greg or for Carl.
Seems to be working like a plan. I mean, all 5 of his cars finished in the top 10 last week at Atlanta. And they're all there again right now today. So consistency is the key, and these Roush Fenway guys have it, Andy.
They're going to have to make sure that they make the right adjustments when this track changes, though, because it is going to change a lot between now and the end of the race. Here comes Matt Kenseth now. I think he's been kind of hanging back. I think he has his car set up for this later part of the race and just kind of hanging in there. Still in the top 10, but I think this is the car you got to watch at the end of the race.
Yeah, and one thing we didn't talk about that all of these Roush cars have, and we see David Reagan here doing a nice job once again, but that Doug Yates horsepower. I know they're in this together, but Doug Yates is the man behind making the horsepower and making these engines what they are. Shannon?
Well, I spoke with David Reagan's crew chief, of course, veteran crew chief Jimmy Fennig, who's worked with young drivers such as Mark Martin, Kurt Busch, and he told me that David Reagan's learning curve has been tremendous, incredibly fast. He also told me that he feels that these intermediate mile-and-a-half tracks are the most difficult track for a young driver to tackle. He said that's because he believes that these young guys really cut their teeth on the short, flat tracks. But what a great job David Reagan is doing right now. He's moved into the top 10 where he's been the past couple weeks.
Shannon, when I talked to David Reagan yesterday down in the pits, he couldn't say enough about Jimmy Finning. He said, when you got Jimmy Finning on that pit box, it's like you got someone right there with you just patting you on the back and giving you a hug every lap. You feel so comfortable in the car. A lot of patting on the back took place in that previous pit stop down there in the 48 team for Jimmy Johnson. Let's go to it and show what some of the signals they're using there on the pit box. Now watch this. Chad Knaus.
And you see Chad's trying. This is another set of eyes. Chad's only has two eyes. He's watching what's going on with this pit stop. He's got somebody else there with his hand. He's patting him on the back, letting him know that the car is full of fuel and it's ready to go if everything else is ready. It's just like having two pair of eyes on this pit stop.
Great teamwork. So they have an engineer watching the fueling, and Chad is watching the tire changing. And Jimmy Johnson is up to 23rd spot. Carl Edwards, our leader.
At the halfway point of the Dickies 500, race 8 in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, Texas Motor Speedway. And from the ESPN pit studio, you watch Carl Edwards leading. He's opened up 4.7 seconds on second place Greg Biffle, and with Jimmy Johnson a lap down, we have seen this movie before.
Oh, we have seen it before. This is a long time to go before this race is over. Johnson does have time to get back in the lead lap, but you know Carl Edwards asked his crew chief, where's Johnson? How's he running? What's going on, Brad?
Absolutely.
You know, he's just smelling it. He wants to beat up Johnson right now bad.
He wants to put him down as far as he possibly can, but 166 laps to go. I'm just sitting back watching this thing because I'm telling you, at the end of the day, when that old checker flag falls, that 48 will be hunted.
Carl Edwards has led the most laps. He's led 105 of the 168 that have been completed so far. Just a couple of quick caution flags. Big story of the day. So Gibson tracking third from his.
Another characteristic, poise under pressure. And you could sense that during this recent radio transmission.
Jimmy, you were good there, man. We lap times there just a tick off the leader there. So you're doing really good, bud. Really good. You've been all day by far. Get you back on the lead lap. I have to work for it a little bit here, unfortunately, but we'll get you back on the lead lap and we'll be good.
Jimmy said recently one of the aspects of a championship hunt where he's much better than he was 3 years ago, handling pressure. He said he has to manage his own mind. It's become a full-time job. I spoke with Chad Knaus about that very aspect this morning, and he said he notices that especially in situations like this where he doesn't panic.
So Johnson right now running in 22nd place. He's the fourth car, one lap down, and going to need another caution, then give his pit crew another shot to try and get him up into that first car, not on the lead lap, to get a shot at getting back into the hunt on this thing. Let's take you up to speed. Cars just outside the top 10. We start with Shannon.
Well, Alan, I told you about that last pit stop where they added a rubber to this 29 car in the spring. It looks like it may have worked for Kevin Harvick. He restarted 12th and he's currently running 10th. Now, I did speak with his crew chief, Todd Barrier, who told me that these mile-and-a-half bank tracks are not Kevin Harvick's best tracks. They just haven't been able to put together a package for him. But next week at Phoenix, they're really looking forward to that race and looking for some momentum going into next weekend. Jamie?
And Martin Truex Jr. finds himself the farthest back he's been all race, 11th right now. He's in what they're calling the workhorse. This is the 11th race for this car. They felt if they had a good run, they would run it in Homestead again, but he's going backwards a little bit, chasing their setup. He's a little bit loose. Look for an air pressure adjustment on the next stop, Shannon.
Jamie, another driver who's on the move right now is Casey Mears. Restarted 16th, and he's currently worked his way up to 12th. He was really bad on entry all race long. They made a wedge adjustment on that last pit stop, and obviously it's working a little bit for that spot number 5 car. Mike?
Shannon, talking with Kenny Francis, crew chief for Casey Kane this morning, he seemed extremely frustrated. Asking him how the weekend has gone, he said pretty much the same way it's gone since the middle of the summer. They just could not get a handle on the balance of this race car during practice, shifting from loose to tight. Right now, it's still a little bit loose. They're trying to wrangle that car back in as the sun begins to set, Shannon.
Jeff Burton just came over the radio, told his crew chief, Scott Miller, I don't know what to tell you about this car. It just will not connect to the track. As you saw his rear end just getting a little bit loose. He said, I have no grip and it won't turn, so he's really struggling with this 31 car. It's been a rough couple weeks for Jeff Burton. Dave?
Mark Martin passing him now in that black 8 car, saying I'm getting all the speed out of it I can, but running in 15th today, it probably won't be a winning day. But can I preview next week? Mark Martin is going to run Phoenix instead of Homestead. He switched with his co-driver, Eric Almirola, and Mark is going to run next week at the track he almost won at earlier this year, save for a late fuel stop. So tune in next week, Mark Martin fans. Mike?
Dave, when the 88 team left here in the spring, the one aspect of this racetrack where they wanted to be better is they wanted to have more of a tight race car. They were way too loose. Tony Eury said if Dale Jr. gives him a tight race car, he's tight early on, they're going to be in good shape because they have a much easier time loosening him up rather than tightening him up. Fortunately for the 88 team, what they're reporting, they're tight. That's good news. As the race wears on, they'll be able to loosen that race car up. Meanwhile, Jeff Gordon still fighting to stay amongst the top 10. Car is a little bit loose in, loose off, but tight in the middle. Still a pretty good run considering going into the day, they had no idea what to expect. They weren't even sure if they could stay on the lead lap. They've been pretty much close to the top 10 all afternoon, Dave.
And Mike, a guy who just got back on the lead lap as a result of the Lucky Dog free pass is Tony Stewart, but still riding near the back. This guy who has led 452 laps here is probably not going to get there today. The car loose everywhere, and they've been working on it all day to try to get that condition out if they can. Alan?
All right, Dave, thanks. And Brian Vickers had been on the lead lap till just about 8 laps ago when the 83 car hit pit road for an unscheduled stop. Vickers now a lap down back in 23rd spot. So just past halfway, Carl Edwards leading Greg Biffle by 5 seconds, while Jimmy Johnson runs in 22nd place a lap down. More from Texas after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
In college, you weighed 4.
If you want it, come and get it. I ain't here to brag or boast, but I bet you won't bet. Man, I go and take it home. I want it deep in my bones. And I don't ask how to dance. When it all falls down, I'll be the last man standing.
Where are they standing in points here at Texas Motor Speedway? If you just joined our coverage, Carl Edwards has cut the point lead in half. He is our leader on the racetrack. Edwards has led 120 laps in the points lead, folks. There it is, 88 points back. Biffle just 110 points back. 31 car of Burton, 200 back in the 07, just 240. That's Clint Boyer, who has already gained 2 spots. Well, tonight at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, he's a boxing coach who has saved countless kids from the streets. And now Sugar Ray Leonard, George Foreman, and Oscar De La Hoya join the Extreme team to give him one knockout of a makeover. An all-new Extreme Makeover Home Edition tonight on ABC. Kenny Schrader, the 96 car, team that was started in Texas by Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach, Hall of Fame Racing. They sold the team at the beginning of last year, and a Dallas-based sponsor on that car. Dave?
And guys, Carl Edwards' car has run pretty well today. The last run, maybe not his favorite. This run, just a slight report, and I mean slight, about that car being a little bit difficult to steer off the corner. Guys usually work on a 1 to 10 scale. After he gave the report of a little bit snug off the corner, Carl said maybe a 0.5. That's not much, DJ.
No, that's getting it pretty good, and it sure looks like that as he's out over 6 seconds ahead of the second place competitor, Greg Biffle. And it just looks like a phenomenal day so far. He's just doing everything he has to do to try to put the pressure on Jimmy Johnson, and he's closing in on leading the most laps here. And so if he can do all of that, he's done his job. It's just up to the rest of things to fall into place for him to cut this lead.
And Jimmy Johnson's doing all he can do at this point, trying to get this lap back. He's 21st right now with Brian Vickers making that unscheduled stop, and he did pass A.J. Allmendinger for another spot, so he's made up a couple spots.
Joey Logano there in the 02 car. He's the 18-year-old phenom for Joe Gibbs Racing, who's been so competitive. Won in the NASCAR Nationwide Series. Is only his 3rd start on a mile and a half at Kentucky, but in 3 starts in the Cup car, it's been a very steep learning curve.
He's just going to have to continue to learn. This is tough. You know, all of this stuff that he's done leading up to this point. Now he's in with the big boys, so to speak. Here we see David Rudeman taking over that 4th spot from Clint Boyer. David's had a great day all day long. His car seems to really come on after they run about 15 laps, and he's able to make up some spots and get faster and faster. He's just not losing time. He's not getting faster. He's just not losing as much time as some of these guys. Dave?
And a run ago, DJ, they really thought they had a problem. David said this car is really messed up. And after they went back and forth about what he thought it might be, it was after a round of green flag pit stops. Did they leave a wheel loose? Was something wrong there? They really reasoned that they had something on the track, maybe from the 41 when he put the oil down. The car seems much better now, and David hasn't complained since. Jamie?
And the man he passed was Clint Boyer in the 07. Clint said that it just took too long to get up to speed on that last run. He's really tight, so on that next pit stop, they're looking for 4 tires, all air pressure adjustment all the way around. They're looking at lap 195 to 200 for the next stop for Clint Boyer.
All 43 cars still on the racetrack. And there's the 07 of Clint Boyer, trying to move up in the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup, trying to hold on, by the way, to a NASCAR Nationwide Series points lead. And that's narrowing as well here with 2 races to go. So he's got his hands full on Saturday and Sunday.
Every weekend he goes to the track, especially here at the end. It's double duty and a lot of pressure. But he's doing a nice job.
We all sat down. He wanted to be the race car driver, though, right?
That's right. That's exactly right. Here is Brian Vickers going by the Jimmy Johnson. He just put on tires a minute ago, but the 48 struggling again, Andy.
The 83 does have new tires, but we just watched the lap times for Jimmy Johnson. It's now fallen off quite a bit. I mean, kind of like we saw that second run.
If Vickers had come back on the pit road, that's how he got the lap down. They thought they had a right rear going down. 17 and 6, couple of Roush Fenway teammates, 8th and 9th position.
Matt Kenseth there trying to go around A.J. Allmendinger in the 10 car up on the high side. David Reagan having another nice run. He had fallen behind Matt Kenseth a little bit, but now he's been able to catch him in some traffic and going to try to pass him for that 8th spot.
What were you saying last week, DJ? I'd like to be A.J. Allmendinger's agent because he has really shown some talent here the last 3 or 4 races.
Yeah, absolutely he has. He's shown that he can drive these race cars. He can qualify them. He can drive them in the race, and he's really caught on quickly to these cars.
About 8 to 10 laps away from scheduled pit stops. Carl Edwards showing the way. We'll take a break and come back and cover them. You're watching ESPN on ABC. Motorsports calendar coming up next weekend at the Jewel in the Desert Phoenix International Raceway. NASCAR Craftsman Truck Series action on Speed Friday at 7:30 Eastern Time. Then our coverage of the NASCAR Nationwide Series presented by Craftsman on ESPN2 Saturday at 4 o'clock Eastern. And then the next to the last race in the chase, NASCAR Sprint Cup competition Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, right here on ABC. Carl Edwards, after that cycle of pit stops, a 7.6 second lead over David Rudeman. And moving in on the 24 car of Jeff Gordon, who right now is the final car in 18th spot on the lead lap.
Jeff started from the pole today and had high hopes that this might be a good day for that race team, but he looks in his mirror. He's going to see the leader right there. Carl Edwards passing Paul Menard. And Jeff will be the next car that could fall victim and go a lap down. Carl Edwards just setting a torrid pace around here.
48 car Jimmy Johnson back in 21st position. Now he came into the day with a 183-point lead. And here's the progression and how it's changed, disintegrated, and now moved back a little bit here on lap 200.
Jimmy's kind of stabilized in 21st spot. They made those green flag stops. He seems to be pretty good on new tires, but as the run progresses, it looks like he's losing some of that time.
The 16 car of Greg Biffle was running in 2nd position.
Yeah, Greg had a problem as we started making these green flag pit stops. First issue, he gets ready to come to pit road. You see him down here in the bottom of your screen. He's going to try to get to pit road, but he's going a little too fast. Can't get inside the commitment cone. So he has to go all the way around. He's already lost a lot of speed. Now when he comes in, Andy?
And now when they get here, they make a pretty decent right side stop. But coming around, you see the tire changer and carrier get tangled up coming around the back of the car, and that cost him some more time. So that cost him spots and time on the racetrack.
He is now being shown almost 12 seconds behind the leader, his teammate Carl Edwards.
That video of that pit stop won't be one they'll use in training new guys, will it?
No, that's not how it's done.
So it is Carl Edwards, our leader, David Rudiman in second spot. Jamie McMurray has hung in the top 5 all day long. In the 18 car, there is Kyle Busch being shown in 4th position.
As long as he's in the top 5, you've got to worry about him, buddy. I'll tell you that.
Jamie?
He's certainly on the move, just quietly. This car's been great all day, very minimal adjustments. I talked to Steve Addington, his crew chief, this morning, and he said, boy, you know, looking back on this season, it has been quite a ride. It's been so smooth. Then the chase started, and bam, we got smacked. They've had a tough chase, but they said, hey, we're just going for wins. We're not going to worry about points. We'd love to go to New York because only the top 10 teams get to do that. And he said, as long as we win, everything else will fall into place. And their plan today was just to work their way through the field, get in the top 5, and be there at the end. And they're doing exactly what they set out to do, guys.
Jamie, remember, he dominated the NASCAR Nationwide Series race here yesterday, leading 5 times for 174 laps to tie the all-time record for single-season wins that have been set by the legendary Sam Ard back in 1983. And, of course, no one in the history of this racetrack has ever swept both Saturday and Sunday in a NASCAR Nationwide Series and Sprint Cup race on the same weekend.
It can certainly happen here today. As you see, he's made a nice run. He made a nice pit stop. See that car really go through the center, getting back to the throttle. He's moved up on the bumper. Jamie McMurray trying to take that 3rd spot away.
I've been wondering which one of these cars that's running on the lead lap is going to rise up when this racetrack cools down. I thought it might be Matt Kenseth, but it hasn't happened with him yet. It might be Kyle Busch.
He's a great candidate because we know exactly what he can do here. In the truck race Friday night, he ran great. Obviously just dominated things yesterday, leading over 170 laps of that race. Jamie Murray's having a really, really good day. Good, solid day once again. Dave?
Dale, he didn't like the changes they made, though. And that could be the track, too. You know, these guys are fighting the way this track changes throughout the day to try to make the car perfect at the end. Jamie said really loose in and not turning very well at the beginning of the run, right after they took on those 4 tires. He said, now it's kind of tight loose. I don't really like it.
Yeah, that's the worst condition that you can have is when the car is doing 2 different things, not only in trying to drive it, but trying to fix it too.
Yeah, right. It's hard to fix both things because you can just one way for tight, the other way for loose. When it's tight loose, I'm not sure which screw to turn.
Now that's Larry Carter. Now Larry Carter was the former crew chief for Rusty Wallace in Rusty's final year before he retired. Rusty, you were very, very good on 1.5-mile tracks, and I know you thought a lot of what Larry would do with the setups on these tracks.
Yeah, I really did, Jerry. He's just a fantastic crew chief. Larry Carter helped win me some races. He was a great team leader, and he still is. And so I'm very surprised to hear that he's not going to be the crew chief in this car next year, but he's still going to be with the organization in a different role. But Larry's a smart guy, and he knows what's going on. And I really like the momentum this team's got. They're getting better and better and better every single week.
I just can't understand, as good as this team has gotten together and as well as Larry and Jamie McMurray are just seeing this chemistry start to really work there in the top 5, top 6 now almost every week, why you would make a change.
Well, we don't know what Jack Roush has got in mind, and he's made some good moves before. He might have a good one in store for Jamie McMurray.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think we've all questioned things that Jack Roush has done from time to time in moving people around in that organization, but I'd have to say that better than 75% of the time, he's absolutely made the right move, and we'll see exactly what happens, but they sure have run well here recently.
And Jack Roush has a lot of wisdom and a lot of vision. In fact, when he looks at his drivers, there's one guy in particular he thinks has a very bright future.
Probably the biggest thing is the fact that he's earned the respect of the other competitors. And, you know, UPS coming on board with a sponsor is a great vote of confidence for what his future is going to be. David Reagan is going to be as good in this business as anybody in the modern era has been.
That is very high praise for a driver.
Yeah, very high praise, and I think David's going to live up to that, and glad to see that he's going to have a sponsor like UPS. I think that'll be a great relationship between them.
Reagan in the 6 car running in 8th position. Behind him is the 17 car of Kenseth. Here's a couple of very good friends off the racetrack. Martin the car, 30 of Jeff Burton, they 13 and 14.
Like Jeff Burton's running a little faster lap times than Mark is right now.
If you just joined our coverage, we've had 10 lead changes among 7 drivers. Carl Edwards has now led the most laps today, 3 times for 161 laps. And Kenseth, he's the guy you said was going to be coming on in this track, got a little more grip.
He's busy in that car, though. Look how much he's steering the thing, coming off the corner real loose. But it's going the right direction, going forward.
And Jimmy Johnson, our points leader, again, folks, is back in 21st position. The differential down to less than 90 points. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station.
Our coverage of the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup continues from the Texas Motor Speedway. It's the Dickies 500, where we have just over 100 laps to go. And Columbia, Missouri's Carl Edwards in that 99 car is dominating. He's leading now by 8 seconds over the second place driver. And Carl has led 167 of the 230 laps that we have completed so far. Here's a look at our sprint race rundown. It's pretty much been Carl early and Carl often.
Oh, Carl all the way long here. He gets past Clint Boyer early in the race, gets around him. And, man, I tell you, ever since then, he has checked out and been gone.
He has been absolutely outstanding and dominant all day long. And we see him coming up on the points leader, Jimmy Johnson, putting him a lap down. Jimmy's really struggled today, but seems to have found his mojo is getting back into the top 20. But Carl Edwards is strong.
So Carl going to lead the most laps in this race, collect an additional 5 points toward the championship. If you're new to NASCAR, a driver who leads a lap during the race gets 5 additional points in his payout at the end of the day, and the driver who leads the most laps gets an additional 5 points at the end of the day. So Carl Edwards out in front and stomping the field. Jimmy Johnson back in 20th place, 1 lap down. And the biggest problem for Johnson right now, besides the fact that laps are running out, is that this 99 car is so fast, he's putting more cars a lap down. And those are more drivers Johnson's going to have to get past somehow through some strategy, some luck or something, Rusty, if he's going to have any shot at getting back on the lead lap.
Yeah, I think Johnson's going to pick some spots up, but just like you said, Alan, he's in trouble right now because he just, Mark Martin's on the lead lap, the first guy lap down in charge, get the lucky dog, and Dale Jr., Stewart, Gordon. There's a lot of good teams he's got to pass, and it's not looking good for Johnson right now. And, I tell you, the 48 car is getting run down by that 99. 91 points behind right now. Carl Edwards is to Johnson. So tough day for Johnson so far. But he's got time to make it up, Brad.
Yeah, he
not
does.
A lot, though.
He does. Not a lot. Yeah, we're getting ready to drop below that 100-lap mark, which is a 100-lap sprint to the end. Jimmy Johnson, it looks like it's one day that we've been talking about them having. This may be his mulligan day, but they just have to take the best finishes possible.
I say it a lot.
It ain't over
if you watch these things a lot, I say it a lot. There's a long way to go, and a lot of things can happen.
Oh, yeah, the racetrack is going through. I'll tell you what, guys, I'm looking out right now. This racetrack now is starting to go through its transition. A lot of shade in turn 1 and 2. And another 20 minutes from right now, this track's going to be completely different. Yep. I think you're going to see the speeds different. A lot of different things are going to happen.
So race 8 in the chase right now, not being the best for Jimmy Johnson, Doc, DJ, and Andy, but Carl Edwards, boy, he's got it on go.
And Alan, Carl has been up on that wheel since the beginning of the race. And Dale, we were just talking a moment ago in commercial, as he goes by the 31 car, and now only 12 cars on the lead lap. This is a very physically demanding racetrack, and they've been under green for quite a while.
Yeah, tough racing here because you have to fight these race cars. You're running high speeds and fighting these. So you can see Carl work the steering wheel right there. Well, the rest of these drivers are having to do that. Their cars are driving worse than his, so they're having to work harder. A lot of green flag racing. Physical conditioning could come into play before the end of this race.
And that always seems to play to Carl Edwards and Jimmy Johnson. And Jimmy, now I know that they're putting a lot of cars down a lap, and that can work against that 48 team getting the lucky dog. But the more cars they put down a lap, if the caution does come out, they'll be able to race their way past those cars. That's more spots that'll be available for them to gain.
Here's David Rudeman having his best run of the year by far, in second position, although he's about 9 seconds back. Dave.
We'll talk to his crew chief, Ryan Pemberton. Ryan, how good is the race car right now, and anything left of that mystery problem he was talking about earlier?
Well, I think the track's just going away a little bit. I don't see any real problem, and I think that there might have been a little oil on the racetrack. I heard a lot of people complain about it. We were sideways coming off the corner, but he was still running fast, so we left him out there for a while. See if they can come back around.
Have anything for the 99?
I don't know if anybody does, but if anybody does, David does.
All right, and he's hoping that his guy will be physically fit as these green flag runs continue, guys.
His career best finish is 9th twice, including a run at Richmond this year where he led the most laps in the race, but faded late and having just an outstanding run. What does this mean to this whole organization to be able to know the 44 car, but the whole Michael Waltrip organization to have the cars running this well now?
I think the biggest thing is that hey, we're getting our program to the point that we can race these guys. It wasn't like that, you know, and this is, again, we're only in the second year of this organization. They're building new race cars. They've changed some people around. Things are really going in a good direction for them.
You know what would mean more to this team than running well like they are right now is to pass one more car before the end of this race. Nothing would change their life like winning a race would. And they're close, real close.
Jamie McMurray back in third position again, having another great run on a 1.5 mile track. Jamie, we mentioned, had finished 5th at Charlotte, 7th at Atlanta. And now caution for debris on the racetrack. We're being told it's on the back straightaway. And Rodney Wise, Rick Monroe on the flag stand waving that yellow flag.
Unfortunate break for Bobby Labonte, who's sitting on pit road right now. He just came down to get his car serviced, and he's headed back out.
The 31 car got the free pass, and that was a break for Jeff Burton because, and for Martin Truex, it was about to be put a lap down.
That'll put 13 cars on the lead lap. So like I said, Johnson, if he can get off pit road, make up some spots, he can race his way all the way up to 13th without getting that lucky dog. And then maybe get himself in position to get it back.
Yeah, that's a good point, Andy. Him putting these other cars being put a lap down by Carl Edwards is a good thing for Jimmy Johnson because now he can make up some spots. He only had a few a while ago that he could make up, but that was a great point there that he will be able to gain some of those points back if he has the car to do it.
And some of those other cars a lap down are teammates. Jeff Gordon's a lap down, Earnhardt Jr. is a lap down, and future teammate Mark Martin is a lap down.
Whoa, look at Ruderman coming off that racetrack, laid black marks, trying to get down there. He's trying to make up some of that space. Dave?
First and second place on pit road, of course, for Carl Edwards. His car just a little loose on that run. They'll make a wedge adjustment and 4-tire change. David Ruderman's car just a little bit loose. They will add air to the right front tire. 4 tires and Sunoco fuel for him as well. Jamie?
Been just a little loose for the 18 at Kyle Busch. They made track bar adjustments all day. They're going to try something different and go for a little wedge adjustment. 4 tires and fuel for the 18 guys.
Carl Edwards pulling out. You see the race down there between the 44 and the 18.
Yeah, looks like Kyle Busch is going to gain a spot right here.
Biffle trying to get out there with McMurray. They're side by side. McMurray will get the spot. He still loses 1 position.
And there goes Matt Kenseth. That 17 team gets 2 more spots on pit road.
And those guys do it week in and week out. There's Casey Mears in the 5 car having a nice run.
Carl Edwards has dominated the day here at Texas Motor Speedway. 3 times he's led for 177 laps. Remember the history? The guy who wins at Atlanta the last 3 years comes and wins at Texas. It may be holding true because 1 week ago it was Carl Edwards that got it done at Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Beautiful sight as the sun sets over the Texas Motor Speedway. Beautiful day so far for Carl Edwards driving that 99 car as we are getting set for a restart after just the 3rd caution flag of this race. Track record average speed for this race is 151 miles an hour. It's pretty well in danger at the pace they're running here today so far. Jimmy Johnson is going to be the 7th car 1 lap down for this restart, so not much has changed in the picture for the 48 car as he pursues trying to get back on the lead lap and get back into the hunt for a top finish in this thing. Johnson right now showing down in 20th place, and the restart has been waved off. Going to be another lap before they go back to green flag racing. And inside the ESPN pit studio with Rusty Wallace and Brad Doherty, let's talk about this plight of Johnson now. The more the laps run out, the more the pressure begins to build that they're not going to be able to get this back.
Yeah, I'm never going to say never, though, Alan, but they do have a problem. I watched their last pit stop. They made 2 adjustments on the right-hand side. Down 1 round with the right rear wedge, down 1 round with the track bar, which leads me to believe that car is loose on entry, loose on exit, and tight in the center. So he's trying to make double adjustments to get Jimmy where he needs to be right now. That car is not exactly right yet.
Yeah, dare we say they may have missed a little bit on their setup, or after their practice runs, the car is just 100% changed on them. So they're struggling, but he's in 20th position. I'm going to be interested to see how he comes up through this traffic, if he can come up through this traffic and pass some cars back like our Andy Petrie talked about.
Now, the one thing we got going on for him right now, the track is changed and should get more hooked up. The car should run faster. They all should handle better. And I'll tell you what, Alan, it might fall into his lap there then.
We'll find out. And 90 laps is a lot of racing as we go back upstairs to Dr. Jerry Punch, Andy Petrie, and Dale Jarrett.
Thanks, guys. Let's go to Jimmy's pit stop and watch his crew chief, Chad Knaus, and listen in.
So they're just making a normal 4-tire change, but they're trying to make up spots on these lap down cars. All these are points that they need to gain. They're making adjustments. You see what, just like Rusty said.
Go. Outside one, go. Watch it. Shit, sorry, didn't mean to yell in your ear. All clear there.
A little pressure.
Now the padding that's taking place as cars are approaching Jimmy on pit road to go by.
It's hard. We're trying to figure out their hand signals and their communication strategy there.
As we get ready to go green here, the strategy is not to get involved in an accident, because we know cautions breed cautions.
And we apologize for the audio there as we get set to go back to the green flag. Less than 100 laps to go here. Carl Edwards, David Ruderman.
Wow, how about this jump for Casey Kane? He got out there pretty quick.
I think you can do that.
Well, we'll see. I don't know if Carl just didn't go when the green came out, or what the situation there is. Here goes Kyle Busch.
Trying to take over that second spot.
We were talking, the chime you may have heard in the caution a moment ago was the wake-up call for the 18 car of Kyle Busch. He could be a factor here in these final 90 laps.
He's going to be a factor. He is a factor. He's second right now, and you got 88 laps to go.
Well, trouble on the straightaway.
That's what you're talking about, Dale.
Well, this happened towards the back of the pack, so
cautions do breed cautions, though.
Yep. So they'll just bunch them back up one more time.
Travis Quapple spins around, and none the worse for wear. We'll have to come back on and maybe get some tires.
Okay, we got the 9 car and the 88 car.
I believe all the damage.
Yeah, the 88 was in front of the 99 there, I believe, so he's going to get his lap back, depending on when that caution was thrown and exactly where they were.
Damage in the 47 car. Marcus Ambrose, see the front end damaged on his Toyota.
He's got some heavy damage on the left corner.
We can see what happened here on the 1 lap after the restart.
This racing gets awful close to that. Oh
my goodness.
Elliott Sadler, the 19 car, and there comes the 47.
It's just close racing on these restarts. A lot of speed. Times are getting faster now, and these guys getting a little bit more racy. 4 wide. Looked like Elliott Sadler had a problem. You could see something flying off a car back there just behind Elliott. So I don't know if he had something to go wrong with his car.
Sure got him jammed up here on the front stretch.
Let's check out our Allstate Good Hands move of the race. Now, one of our chasers was behind this, Jeff Burton. Watch what he saw.
It's the last car.
Spin in front of you, spin in front of you. Move up, move up, move up, move up. There we go, all clear. Good job.
That's a good hands move for sure. He was the last car on the lead lap. Rocky Ryan, the spotter, taking him right through all that smoke.
The 8 car, by the way, Mark Martin gets the free pass. He'll get back on the lead lap now. 15 cars on the lead lap.
Give me a T-Code, Tennessee.
85 laps to go here in the Dickies 500 at Texas Motor Speedway, under caution for the 4th time today. Incident involving Travis Quapple and Marcus Ambrose. There's the 9 car just exiting pit road. Casey Kane, and the reason he came on the pit road and was held a lap was that he got a little advantage on the restart there a moment ago.
saying, okay, I want this lap back, and the best way to get Carl Edwards is to mash the gas before he does.
That doesn't work on a restart, though. You can't beat the outside guy back to the start-finish line, and not exactly sure what Casey was thinking there. He got a good jump. For sure. There was the 88 car. You can see that's where he got in front of the 99, and he was able to stay in front of Carl Edwards and get his lap back. That's what enabled Mark Martin to get the free pass. So he actually had 2 cars right there to get back on the lead lap.
They are calling off the restart because of more debris on the racetrack. We just joined our coverage. Carl Edwards has dominated the day here at Texas Motor Speedway. He won this race back in the spring by leading a total of 123 laps. He has now led 185 laps on the day. Well, let's check in the 18 pit. So with Jamie.
And Kyle Busch finds himself second, the best he's been all day. So, Steve, it's cooling down out there. This restart, do you guys have anything for the 99?
I don't know. He is pretty fast. I don't know whether we've got anything for him or not. Been really working really hard to get the car where he likes it, and he's coming around a long ways from where we started. But we put him in a hole on Friday, so he's done an awesome job being patient to get it to the front.
It's going to be an exciting restart. Let's go over to Dave Burns.
Jamie, we've talked about keeping up with this track. Bob, how tough is it to adjust the car and keep up with this surface?
Well, as long as you're listening to your driver and he's giving you good information, it's not real hard. You just got to make sure you do something every time you stop, because the track changes quite a bit from sunup to sundown. And we're right in that transition right now, so this is a pretty important run.
All right, paying attention, taking notes, and listening to their driver. DJ, that's a good thing, huh?
Yeah, usually it is. Yeah, and a driver like Carl Edwards, I'd say that's a pretty good thing. And when you got a car like this, I'm not sure it's too hard to keep up with the racetrack. That thing looks like it's going to be fast regardless of the surface and the changing conditions.
Not a bad combination. You got the fastest car and the most physically fit driver in the field on a tough afternoon here at Texas.
Got to like your chances in a 500-mile race with that combination.
Yeah, the only thing is he looks in his mirror and he sees Kyle Busch.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, and he's hungry for a win.
Yes, he is.
He hasn't been running second in a race in the chase, I don't believe. So this is as high up as he's been.
Had a 5th place finish at Atlanta last week. 4th at Charlotte. The only 2 top 10s Kyle has had the entire chase.
Here we go. Jeff Gordon down there, he's got ideas. He saw those other guys.
We've seen cars all day long be able to pass Carl Edwards on these restarts, at least down to turn 1.
I think Carl's tired of that.
Yeah, I think he is too. He races Gordon hard off turn 2.
You like that at 24 between him and the 18 right now, which is exactly where he's got him. So Carl can try to get away and let Kyle have to work over that 24 to get by. McMurray working his way back through the field. There's Biffle behind him, the 44 of Rudeman. There's a 44, 26, and 16 are 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Well, we've seen all day that the 44 hasn't been the greatest on these restarts. It takes him usually about 10 or 12 laps to get going. He's trying to hold these guys off so he doesn't fall too far behind and have to pass them during that next time. But Jamie McMurray going to the outside. He's wanting to move forward and take that 3rd spot away.
Jimmy Johnson in the 48 car. Johnson being shown back in 20th position. He is a lap down. He is the 5th car a lap down. Trying to move in on the 6th car, which is a lead lap car of David Reagan. Well, McMurray made that high right that lane work pretty well. See if Biffle follows him up there. No, now the 44 of Rudeman goes up there a little bit.
Good racing here. Jimmy Johnson, he wants to be as aggressive as he can be, but then he has to not take too many chances. He knows this is the one thing that getting himself in a bad position here that could be a problem for him. As you see David Reagan moving forward. He just took over that 7th spot from Clint Boyle.
Yeah, if you're Jimmy Johnson, 20th is not a great day, but with still 43 cars on the racetrack, 43rd would be a worse day. You cannot afford to get impatient and make a mistake.
Yeah, great point. Everybody's still out here running, even though we have some guys. Joe Nemechek's in 43rd, 5 laps down. But if you have a problem here, you could be a lot more down than that. So Jimmy has to, be aggressive, but has to be a little bit patient at the same time.
Yeah, that's amazing in this deep into this race. The last car, 43rd, is only 5 laps down and still on the racetrack. That makes it a very dangerous situation for Jimmy Johnson. He's got to be careful not to make a mistake.
These cars behind Jimmy Johnson, 0, 7, and 29, are battling for position. That is 8th and 9th as you look at our DirecTV onboard telemetry for Jimmy.
We saw going into turn 1 there with his RPMs. Earlier when he was struggling, he wasn't getting to 9,000 RPMs, and we saw about 9,200 there. So that just shows you how his car's gotten better and things have picked up too as the track has cooled down.
You still hear him pedaling that throttle though coming off the corner.
Third and fourth, McMurray, Biffle. Right, trying to move over.
Whoa,
Tony Stewart goes way up across the racetrack.
Stewart had a handful right there.
Yeah, it looked like that car bottomed out. It might have hit the splitter, and that's what sent Tony up. That track's a little bit rough down the bottom in turns 1 and 2. You catch that wrong just a little bit, then it bottoms that splitter, and you actually lose the front end of the car.
Tony is one of the cars a lap down. He is actually the first car, or second car a lap down in 17th position. Jeff Gordon is in front of him in 16th a lap down.
Tony struggled a little bit more than what we thought. You can see there, Andy. That looks like smoke from that splitter.
Yeah, it's definitely hitting that splitter. And we see that a lot from the 20 car. They seem to run that thing right on the racetrack, and I don't know if they mean to do that or not, but it looks like it's causing a little bit of problem right now.
And it could be happening more now as the speeds have picked up, the temperatures got down, they picked up, so they're carrying a little more speed in there, and that could be creating that situation now that maybe they didn't have before.
Carl Edwards moving by in the points differential. If you just joined our coverage between Carl and the lap car now of points leader Jimmy Johnson is 91 points. And yes, Carl has led the most laps today. He will get the 10 bonus points for leading the most laps.
Jimmy Johnson still struggling on the racetrack. He's about 0.8 of a second slower than Carl Edwards is right now.
75 laps to go here. It's getting dark at Texas Motor Speedway, but the sun is shining on one Carl Edwards as he tries to hold on and win 2 in a row. Back after this message and a word from our ABC station. So today's Sprint Cup monster moment. Watch this contact.
I'm telling you, there's no excuse for that right there.
No, there's not. That's going to be at least a heavy fine, if not more, for David Gilliland.
For more monster moments, check out NASCAR Sprint Cup Mobile. Back with a restart here in just a moment. Back at Texas Motor Speedway under caution for the 5th time today. Juan Montoya, heavy impact, and he's standing by with Shannon Spain.
And Montoya was running 10th when that impact happened. Can you tell me what happened out there?
It's very simple. I was running high the lap before, and he went inside of me. He ran straight to the wall. I got tried to get away, and he's put me in the wall. So I went into one, and I just punched him a little bit to say, hey, you should, I'm running 10, you're running like 50 laps behind. And I hit him a little bit. If I wanted to wreck him, I would have wrecked him. And I don't know, he just came out of the corner and just wrecked us. It's people that want to try to prove a point somehow, and it's disappointing. It's great for everybody at Ganassi. We've got great cars now. Technical help in Dutch was amazing today, and it's just frustrating when idiots like that get in the way.
And it's been a great couple weeks for Juan Pablo Montoya, but however, 4 of the last 6 have ended in DNFs.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I will commend him for handling that very well. When you get in that type of situation, it's tough to talk on the camera, but nice job by Juan Pablo.
There's the damage on David Gilliland's car. Less than 70 to go. Back in just a moment. Sun setting over Texas Motor Speedway here in the Dickies 500. 66 laps to go. Great crowd on hand. Biggest purse of the chase. $7.2 million. And oh my, how the complexion of this points race has changed today. Jamie McMurray will lead him down. Remember, he only took on 2 tires on that pit stop, and he got out in front of everyone. But the question is, will those 2 tires work?
Yeah, I was going to say, not only the points race has changed, but this race has changed. First time Carl Edwards has been back in traffic in a while, but these guys got 2 tires. It'll be interesting to see exactly what's going to happen with that. Can they hold on, or is that going to be good enough for them to stay in front?
Clint Boyer in second spot. Martin Truex was being shown in third position. Earnhardt Jr. coming from a lap back to fourth. They are holding the 38 car on pit road in the penalty box for 5 laps. Reckless driving for the incident a moment ago. David Gilliland being held.
See, Jamie McMurray's got his car out front here. It looks like he likes that clean air. He's been in the top 3 or 4 all day long.
And so far, so good on the 2 tires. They got going really nice on all these guys that got 2 tires. Shannon?
Well, Kurt Busch's number 2 car in the garage right now, you can see him getting back into the seat. They pulled it back here because they actually dropped 2 cylinders on that number 2 car. This is the new R07 engine, but they brought the car back here. Now with Juan Pablo Montoya out of the race, it's very important for these guys to get back on the racetrack to just try to finish in front of the 42 car. So that is exactly what they're doing right now with Kurt Busch.
The R07 is actually the new Chevy engine. Dodge has a new version of their engine out this year that's very similar in design to that R07 that Chevy has. But you always go through learning curves when you do that. There's just certain things you have to learn and break before you find out what the weak links are.
Greg Biffle trying to move. He has gone around the 1 car to take the spot away. Third position inside the leading Rookie of the Year contender, Sam Hornish. 77 car being shown 2 laps down in 23rd position.
See, Jimmy Johnson digging. That last time that they were in the pits, they were spinning both jack screws in the back trying to get this car better.
They are going to, today meeting NASCAR, are going to park the 38 car of David Gilliland and have the driver and crew chief report to the NASCAR truck when this is over.
I didn't see the crew chief do anything. Maybe they just want a representative.
See Junior here on the inside of Denny Hamlin. Hamlin is a lap down. Junior took on 2 tires that last stop, got himself up in the 5th position. He at one time was a lap down during this day.
Carl Edwards is back in 7th spot. There comes Carl there now trying to work to the high side of the 18 car of Kyle Busch.
Well, Kyle Busch has 4 tires also. He's actually the first car on 4 tires. He's not going to give this spot up too easily to Carl Edwards.
Yeah, they made a nice pit stop and actually beat the 99 car off pit road with 4 tires. I think these 2 guys have kind of let things just get strung out before they started trying to attack these guys that have 2 tires.
2 things have happened now here in the last 15 laps, with Carl no longer leading and Jimmy Johnson able to move up into 18th spot, still a lap down. The points has spread back out a little bit. It's now a 124-point margin between Jimmy Johnson and the 16 car.
All that's going to change. You can see what's going on here. 99 cars moving up. You got cars on 2 tires. There's a lot going to happen between now and the end of the race. You can see Kyle Busch. He had the spot on Carl Edwards, but he ran up behind his teammate on the backstretch. There's nowhere to go. Denny Hamlin moved out of the way as quick as he could, but it was too late. Carl got the spot.
Yeah, kind of boxed him in and didn't have anywhere to go for Kyle Busch. So Carl was able to get back in front of him. You see him on the inside, trying to take another spot away here. It's on the inside of Dale Jr. trying to take away that 5th position. This is something Carl hadn't had to do in quite a while. Since he drove himself up to the front, he's been able to kind of put things on crews out front. This is his teammate Jamie McMurray in front right now.
He's got a 1.5-second lead over Clint Boyer in 2nd spot. And left side of your screen, that is Edwards back. That's 5th, 6th, and 7th. Oh, Junior going up a little bit.
McMurray's actually got a over 5-second lead, 5.8-second lead over Carl Edwards. So Carl's got some work to do.
07, Clint Boyer, 2nd on the racetrack. Let's visit with his crew chief, Jamie.
Well, he was 7th before the pit stop. They opted to take 2 tires. Gil, you're looking at the times. How are you feeling about your decision to take 2?
Well, I think it was a good thing for the time because the Jack Daniels Chevrolet's been pretty good all night. We lost a little grip from the transition from the sun to the dark, so we had to get some track position back. Everybody's going to have to pit again, so we'll get 4 tires later and hopefully we'll hang on right here.
Hey, Doc, you look at those lap times. Greg Biffle behind number 4. They're running almost identical lap times.
Don't you love it when a plan comes together? This is working great for Gil Martin so far. He's running 2nd here to Jamie McMurray. It's working good for Jamie, too.
Best run ever for Clint Boyer at Texas Motor Speedway.
That's what you got to do. I mean, they didn't have the best cars. They had to do something to try to, change their fate here with the 99 car. They can't just keep doing what he's doing.
I think the key is going to be if they can get another caution where they can get 4 tires still in that position. If not, I believe Carl Edwards will eventually run these guys down.
Well, that's the thing. It's going to be the timing of the next time they make their next pit stop.
Left side of your screen, the 5th place car who has led the most laps, Carl Edwards. Right side, the points leader, Jimmy Johnson. Back in 17th position, still showing a lap down.
He's only 1 spot out of that lucky dog position. So he's still chipping away.
Greg Biffle has now moved to 2nd in the point standings, 127 points back. Biffle is 3rd on the racetrack. And Carl Edwards is 130 points back, just 3 points behind Biffle.
Yeah, Carl Edwards is closing in on the 1 car of Martin Truex, who also took 2 tires on that last stop, and he's in the 4th spot, and that'll change by 5 points as soon as he's able to get around him. See, there's Martin Truex just in front of Carl Edwards. Kyle Busch staying right with Carl Edwards here. This could get very interesting. It is interesting right now with everything going on, but it's going to be pretty exciting to see what's going to happen as the end of this race starts to play out. We're getting ready to be within 50 laps of the end.
You have to think that these 2 guys think that they're racing for the win even at this spot, because they have 4 tires. They're coming up on a lot of these guys. They know that they have to make another pit stop. So they feel like they're racing for this win here for each other.
And I agree with what you said earlier, Andy. I think we have not seen the last of this 18 car yet. Kyle Busch, who just dominated the regular season with 8 wins in the first 26 races, and then had trouble here when the chase began.
Yeah, we know he's dangerous. And we talk about dangerous. Here comes Matt Kenseth. This is the part of the race that he wakes up and comes alive. It's 9th spot. He just trying to move into 8th spot.
These guys seem like every time we put a camera on either one of them, they've been right together. We've seen one of them, we've seen the other. Which says a lot for David Reagan to be able to have a race at Texas running with Matt Kenseth and around him, sometimes in front, sometimes right on his bumper as he is right now.
The reason we keep saying the 17 car is going to be a factor before the race is over, because he has been last 3 or 4 races in a row. In fact, 2 of the last 3 races, Kenseth has led with 10 laps to go, but didn't win either one of those races.
This 29 car kind of woke up here as the track cools off.
Kevin Harvick's had a lot of success here in the Nationwide Series. He's trying to carry some of that over here to the Cup side. He moved himself into the top 10 in that 10th spot.
More on Matt Kenseth. Dave.
Crew Chief Chip Boland told me this morning, I hope my race is as uneventful as my practices have been, because Matt has been 75% happy with decent speed. I think they're back to this point right now, although the car on the get-go here not as good as the last run, according to Matt. A little bit tight in the middle, a little bit loose off, but they fixed some of the earlier big problems they were having with this race car, and maybe it's another one of these cases where the nighttime has come right to Matt.
Could have, as you see him move in on Dale Earnhardt Jr. in that 7th spot. Much as anything, I'm impressed by these 2 tires these guys put on. With the racetrack cooling down, it seems that this strategy is really working right now.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I think when the track cooled down, it allowed those 2 tires to really hook up, and those and worn left side tires to work better with them. So I think that might be the key.
For you Jimmy Johnson fans, there is hope, because right now he's running exactly, in fact, as fast, if not that lap by, he was actually faster than the leader, McMurray.
They've been adjusted on this car. We saw in that last pit stop, they had wedge wrenches in both holes in the glass. They're winding the jack screws, trying to get this car better.
Johnson is in 17th position. He is the 2nd car a lap down behind Brian Vickers. Again, 15 cars on the lead lap. Jeff Gordon being shown as the final car on the lead lap. He got the free pass on that previous caution flag.
Yeah, he's trying to catch up and get to Brian Vickers, but Jamie McMurray just set sail out front. And we talked about Carl Edwards was just over 5 seconds behind a while ago. Now he's over 8 seconds behind. Mike?
Well, guys, this is surprising for a lot of reasons, but just to give you a little bit of perspective, consider this. This is a car that Jimmie Johnson has gone to victory lane with 3 times this year. He won at Indianapolis, California, and Kansas. All those times, he also sat on the pole. Obviously, they have a very good race car. One thing, though, they did a little bit different. They changed the setup that they had here in the spring when they ran runner-up to Carl Edwards. Jimmie Johnson and Chad Canal said they had a conversation earlier in the week, and they decided to change that setup and implement some of the things they learned mid-summer, feeling that it would make it a little bit better here tonight. Obviously, the car has not responded the way they anticipated.
The 2-car of Kurt Busch had come back out onto the racetrack. He had been down a couple cylinders, gone back in to work on that new generation Dodge engine. He's come back out and now gone back into the garage area, so we'll update you on his progress. We have tried to get in to talk to David Gilliland, who was parked by NASCAR, regarding what happened, and we were still going to try to get a hold of David. He is having some conversations back in the garage area, and we'll get to him as soon as we can. Less than 45 laps to go at Texas. You're watching ESPN on ABC. It's going to go down to the wire. The ticket to the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup title. Phoenix International Raceway next week, 3 o'clock Eastern time, and then the finale, the championship weekend, Homestead Miami Speedway, 3 Eastern time. Both races televised live right here on ABC. Interesting strategy developing here in the final laps. Now, these guys that went out and got 2 tires, like Jamie McMurray, the 07 and 16, you know, that could affect him on this final stop. But before you answer that, let's check into the garage area where Shannon has caught up with David Gilliland.
Well, we saw the aggressiveness on the track, David Gilliland. We heard from Juan Pablo Montoya. Can you just tell us your side of what happened?
Yeah, it's a shame. We got some tore up race cars and we got parked. But I got up and I got in front of him. My spotter said I was clear, and I kind of slid up in front of him, and he jacked my rear wheels off the ground going down the back straightaway, and then got into me again going into turn 1 and 2 and jacked me up way up the track. And I was trying to let him go, and got a good run off the corner and just kind of misjudged it coming down across him. I was going to let him go. So felt real bad for those guys. I guess they were running 7th on the lead lap, and now our team's parked. So felt real bad for my team and Yates Racing, and as well as his, and you know, it ruined both of our days. So unfortunate ending to a pretty good day that we had going. So our City Financial Ford Fusion was running pretty good, and you know, not quite as well as we'd like, but you know, we were just off a little bit, but just a disappointing finish to a day.
All right, Doc, and hearing that David Gilliland will be going to the NASCAR hauler following the race.
Thank you, Shannon, for catching up with him. I know they had some discussions down there, and we'll let NASCAR decide. Now let's talk about what happened here now. On the previous stop, the 26 car, along with Clint Boyer, Biffle, Truex, and Dale Jr., these guys took on 2 tires. How's it going to impact what happens on their final stop?
Well, they have to make one more pit stop. And the key thing is how much lead can Jamie McMurray get out here on these other guys. He doesn't necessarily have to get 4 the next time. If he's got enough lead, he could maybe get right sides one more time, because they won't have but about 18, 19 laps to go once they make that last stop.
Yeah, that was going to be my question. Yeah, can these guys, are the left side tires good enough to go that much time on these and not give up too much time? So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys play this, and they've got a nice lead. They built up a nice lead, and be interesting to see, can they go on just 2 more tires once again? We haven't ever seen that here at Texas, but we've got a lot more grip. Jamie?
And DJ, if you look at those lap times, Boyer took 2 and Biffle right behind him took 4. Their lap times continue to be almost identical. Now this is the deal. Greg Irwin, crew chief for Greg Biffle, said, all right, buddy, we're going to take 4 tires this time. This was, of course, on the last pit stop. He said, I know we're going to give up track position, but we're going to have a plan. And that goes into our last pit stop, where we're going to be allowed to take 2 and gain track position. Now we're hearing down here, they're going to stop around lap 320 to 325. That'll set up for a shootout. Now I'm asking you, DJ, Andy Petrie, as a crew chief, what would you guys do? Take 2? Was that a good call, taking 4 on the last one?
Well, I can't make that decision right this minute, Jamie, because it's not time to pit. But when it comes time to pit, if I'm Jamie McMurray's crew chief and I've got enough lead, I'm going to probably gamble on taking right sides again, because I know the guys behind him probably will.
Let's get some opinions from the boys down in the pit studio. Alan, Rusty, and Brad, you've been watching. You're overlooking pit road. What are your thoughts on what might happen this final stop?
Well, guys, what I'm thinking right now, it looks like these guys are going to have to come down pit road around lap lap 320 and leave about 14 laps to go. So, I mean, Jamie McMurray's got a pretty good lead right now. Yeah, he did do 2 tires last time, and I'm with Andy. I believe I'm going to have to put 2 tires in that car again because I just can't afford to give up all that track position. So 2 tires for me one more time, guys.
Not only track positions, you look at this field, I'm with you guys 100%. Look at the times. I mean, even the guys who've taken 4 tires, their lap times are not that much significantly different than Jamie McMurray's, and he's got enough of a lead. I think you're right. He comes in, gets those right side 2. I think he wins this race.
Now, here's another question, though. If this stop is under green, that's one thing. If the stop is under caution, Andy, and
that's a whole
story, right?
We're under green. We're talking about under green.
Yeah, so that's what I'm curious to see. Now, that's one set is if it's under green. If it's under caution, what do some of these guys do to try and stay out in front?
They got to go 4 tires then. I mean, I believe that the grip's going to be very, very important. And you get McMurray, Boyer, Biffle, Edwards coming down under a caution flag, bumper to bumper. You got to put 4 Goodyear Eagles on that baby and go for it, because I think 2 tires just might get overhauled.
Well, plus it bunches the field up again, so it gives everybody a chance to get a run at him. I think right now what we're looking at is a great opportunity for Jamie McMurray to get a win. Just like Andy Petrie said, he gets those right side tires. He's got a nice lead, and I don't see enough of a drop-off from the 4 tires to the 2 tires.
Dale, what do you think about it?
Well, anybody that got 4 tires that last time that they pitted is going to definitely put on 2 tires, whether it's under green or under caution. So if these guys are going to put on 4 at any time, they're going to lose significant time to Carl Edwards and probably the 18 car also. So I think that you're going to have to about set yourself that you're going to have to get 2 tires. If that was your plan from the beginning, you're going to have to stick with that.
And you're only going to have about 14 laps to run in the remainder race, so you don't need but like 1 can of fuel or probably half a can of fuel to make it on fuel.
Well, and all this time we've been talking, Jamie McMurray's losing some of that lead, and his lap times have fell off quite a bit. So that's why I said you got to wait and see when it's time to pit. What kind of lap times are you running? How much lead do you have? A lot of data goes into that decision.
And Andy, now you earlier in your career were an over-the-wall tire changer. You know the pressure these guys are going to be under. That money stop. Remember we talked about that? Here's Jamie McMurray's team that's not necessarily used to being up there in the lead when that money stop comes. A lot of pressure on those guys to try and take a deep breath and get over the wall and make this stop happen.
Yeah, but you live for those moments, Alan.
Let's check in on the 99 pits with Dave.
And was he not moving forward at such a fast rate because his car wouldn't handle, or because he might have been conserving fuel, or maybe they recalculated that? Listen to recent radio.
Keep being smooth, bud. Keep being smooth. We will have to stop for fuel again. We recalculated. We'll have to stop.
Okay, now I'm going to stop talking.
Talking 4 laps, bud.
Sorry, guys, I'm gonna stop talking and start listening again, because then Bob Osborne told his driver, actually, we're only 2/10 of a lap short, so don't drive too hard. They're still talking about it. Could they go for it?
Well, I don't think they can make it.
That would be a long way.
Well, it sounds like, though, if it stays green, that the most they're going to do is put some fuel in this thing, that they're not even thinking about tires whatsoever. I can't imagine he can make it from there, but it's just going to take a splash of fuel, and these other guys are going to have much older tires to be going around on, and Carl Edwards is beating Jamie McMurray right now every lap.
They would have to go 69 laps since they last pitted. I just don't see him being able to do that.
Well, we haven't seen anybody even come close to that all day, Andy, right? The restart was with 65 to go. We haven't seen anybody even approach that today, have we?
No, I haven't seen anybody come close to that. I'm not sure.
You have to conserve for a few laps while you got this cushion here. It's not going to make a difference. 10-4, conserving.
And how much they can ill afford to run him out of fuel, though, when he's starting to tighten up on this points race, DJ. You can't take that chance.
No, they can't take any kind of chance like that right now. They've got a good day regardless of what happens here, whether they come back and win the race or not. They've made up a significant number of points, and they have to make sure that they do that to the end of this race.
One thing you got to be careful of, these mile-and-a-half racetracks like Texas and Atlanta look identical, but the lap count at Atlanta is 325 laps. It's 334 to make 500 here. I hope Bob Osborne didn't miss it by a few laps thinking it's same as Atlanta.
And he very well could have done that, Andy. I mean, I was thinking that myself. I'm glad you mentioned that because, yeah, I mean, that's a lot of laps to go. That'd be the world's best gas mileage.
No, I don't think that's happening. How about Matt Kenseth here, Dave?
Matt wasn't going to take any chances. That 17 is on pit road, made a chassis adjustment, 4 tires, he's back out.
That's a good move. You're the first one in, and if we don't have a caution, you'll get some advantage of those tires before the other guys do.
Remember, he has been a factor here 2 of the last 3 races, talking about Kenseth. When will the others come on? 2 tires only on the 17 car of Kenseth. There's McMurray, our leader. 22 laps to go.
Just over a half a second lead you see over this 07 of Clint Bowyer. He's moving in just slowly but surely.
Yeah, we keep talking about Carl Edwards, and here Clint Bowyer's getting ready to come up here and take the lead away from Jamie McMurray. Nice run all day by Clint Bowyer. We talked about him earlier in the race. He's just been solid all day long. And as this race winds down, he's got himself in a position to win.
Yeah, he's led 36 laps today, and he's getting ready to lead some more if he can get just a little closer to that 26.
1 car coming down pit road. Martin Truex was being shown in 10th position.
Yeah, these guys starting to make a little bit of a short pit out of it and take a little bit of a chance. Jamie?
Let's see what they do here for the strategy of Martin Truex Jr. Been running top 10 a lot of the day. He came in, he was 13th. You see him working on the right side there. Got to be one or nothing. They're going to stick with 2. He's down and away.
Yes, hard, right there, 42.
I think we're going to see a lot of that. 2 tires. Here comes Kyle Busch on the pit road. I'd say that the most we're going to see is 2 tires on anybody throughout these stops. Some that are going to take a chance and go down that had 4 might just look to get fuel. Jamie?
And Kyle Busch, nope, they're jacking it up on the right side there. Great run for Kyle Busch. Remember, he started 29th today, worked his way up to 2nd. Yep, 2 tires for Kyle Busch. Let's see if it works, guys.
I think we'll see everybody get 2 tires at least, because we saw it took 6.8 seconds to get right side tires, and that's about how long it takes to get enough fuel to make it to the end.
A.J. Allmendinger in he will get 4.
19 laps to go.
And if you can wait another 10 laps before you have to come in, you wouldn't have to get as much fuel.
Commitment cone violation for Allmendinger. You got to be inside the cone, and he pushed it out of the way.
He was after he moved it. He got inside it then. That's not what they're looking for, though.
I think they mean before you hit it. Let's check on the 99, Dave.
They still think they're going to go for it. They believe that the 24, even though he's a lap down, is also going to try to make it to the end without stopping. And they believe their numbers right now. And so far, they've told Carl to stay out.
That's a lot of laps.
That could be a costly either calculation or miscalculation, depending upon how close it is.
If it works.
Yeah. If it works, it'd be a great calculation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. See a lot of cars starting to hit pit road here now.
Tony Stewart has already had his final service. He is leaving. Here's the pass-through penalty for Allmendinger.
There's Ryan Newman getting his stop in. Right side tires.
Mark Martin in the 8 car coming in. He was being shown in 11th spot.
Two tire stops, so front tire changers have to get out of the way, don't they?
Yeah, you got to get out of the way. They're coming. They're not going to slow down for you. I wound up on the hood a few times.
Sam Hornick's little issue with the right front. They finally get it on, and he is away. Martin will go by him. Kevin Harvick in, Shannon.
Kevin Harvick, the car has gone a little bit tight. They're going to try to free him up with air pressure. It's going to be 2 tires for this 29 car, and that's the Sunoco fuel.
So on the left side of our screen, Jamie McMurray's been able to keep this lead. We saw Clint Bowyer close in on him a while ago, but Jamie's been able to stretch it back out to about 12, 15 car lengths now.
44, Rudeman, 7th position. He's on for his final stop. Dave.
And they will take 2 tires for David Rudeman. He was complaining about not being able to roll the center. They'll make a slight air pressure adjustment for that as well. He's done.
There's the 11 of Hamlin. He is a lap down in 19th position.
Our second place car, Clint Bowyer, is on pit road.
Let's go down to Jamie.
And Clint Bowyer in his pit box. It's going to be right sides again for Clint Bowyer. They're going to extend those left side tires. Remember, he won his first Cup race, taking 2 tires at the end. Shannon?
Jamie, what a great run for David Reagan. Just a little bit tight, late exit. They took 2 tires for this 6 car.
Leader McMurray on pit road. Let's go down. Dave.
They took 2 last time. They're going to take 2 this time. No adjustments to the car for Jamie, and he leaves.
Yeah, nice stop there.
That was a nice job. Nice, clean 2-tire stop.
Yeah, Jamie did a good job of getting the power down and not spinning the tires, getting out of there.
Greg Biffle is our leader. Carl Edwards in second spot. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is third. Here comes Biffle, our leader, on for his final stop.
All these Roush cars are pitting here with 13 laps to go.
Yeah.
Hard for me to believe that Carl Edwards can go 13 more laps than his teammates.
Jimmy Johnson's just behind Greg Biffle here on pit road also.
Let's go down to Jamie.
Guys, remember, Greg Biffle took 4 tires last time. It was part of the plan. They're going to take right sides only for the 16 and see if it plays out. Mike?
Jimmy Johnson on pit road now. 2-tire change, right sides only. He's aware.
Carl Edwards, his final stop.
Well, he may not make a final stop. He's still out on the track.
There's Jimmy Johnson trying to get back up to speed, and Carl goes by. Johnson should be able to, with those 2 tires, be able to reel back in a little bit, you would think, although Carl has had one of, if not the best cars of the day.
The one thing Carl's got in his favor is he's got a huge lead now with all these guys making these pit stops. He can slow his lap time pace way up, but wow, it's going to be a lot of laps to try to go.
I still think they're going to have to hit pit road for a splash of gas. It can't be that much more, get that much better fuel mileage than his teammates that he's racing against. And they got their cars full just like he did.
There goes Jimmy back by with the fresh right side tires.
But I think Carl Edwards, we're going to just see a splash and go, and that might be enough of the difference for him to get up there with these guys. Dave?
And they're telling him his gap back to the second car. Now, if you're going to do gas calculations on Roush Racing, you want Jack Roush up on the box with you. He's the guy that confirms so often, talking with the engine tuner right there, Mike Messick, what's going on. Now, Andy, when you talk about going this long on a run, you talk to the gas guy about how much the fuel was. You talk to everybody, right, to make sure they all got the correct numbers, right?
Oh, yeah, you're checking everything and double checking. I'll tell you what I think.
0.9 seconds. You got plenty of buffer here.
He's going to try to give up some lap
right
time.
now. You're top of days.
I can't see him making it. But he's got 9 more laps, we'll all know.
Mike.
Guys, it appears that the 88 and the 24 are going to work as teammates here. About 10 laps ago, Steve Letarte, crew chief for Jeff Gordon, came down to the pit box of the 88, had a conversation with Tony Eury Jr., presumably about fuel. Steve left. He had a smile on his face. I asked him how close he was on fuel. I held up 2 fingers, indicating 2 laps. He said, I'm a lot closer than that. It seems like both these Hendrick teams are going to try to go to the distance.
Yeah, so is this. At 99, you see him going real slow here. He is running basically half throttle. And that's the key thing. He can just keep backing off lap time because he's got such a huge lead. He's got a 11, almost 11-second lead over Dale Earnhardt Jr. So he can give a lot of that up, and that's what I'd be telling him. I'm sure Bob Osborne's telling him that.
Yeah, he's running 2 seconds slower than what he was previously, so tells you a lot about how much he's slowed down.
Look here, he's not even wide open.
Back to the 88. Just keep doing your thing here.
You see no brake whatsoever. Just easing back to the throttle here. Yeah, he's running around the very bottom, shortest way around here. I guess these guys are going to try this.
About 6 to go. Keep an eye on your gauge there. 6 to go. Keep being smooth. 3340. You're doing good.
He's just over 8,000 RPMs.
You get really good mileage doing this.
And the good thing is he's got 2 guys behind him that are doing the same thing, so he doesn't have to worry about them.
They're talking about the gauge. That keep an eye on the gauge. You're talking about the fuel pressure gauge.
Yeah, I never did want to look at it.
We're going to do this. I'm not looking.
Yeah, I don't want to look.
Here's the 88 car doing the same thing.
Okay, now he's out of fuel with 6 laps to go. This gamble didn't pay off too well for the 88 team because if he's out of fuel, it's going to be hard to get it started.
Yeah, he's coming to pit road.
No, see,
so
no RPM.
Junior.
See, no RPM. That's going to be hard to get a good pit road speed.
That is running now, I believe.
That's all we're doing, fuel.
He was running in second position. Now 5 to go. There's the leader, left side of your screen, Carl Edwards.
Wow, this is a huge gamble on Carl Edwards' part.
But he's got a 13-second lead now over Jeff Gordon.
Yeah, but if he doesn't, he's going to lose a lot of spots if this doesn't work out.
Yeah, but DJ, here's the thing with this team. If they pit now, they're going to finish no better than what, 8th or 9th? Jimmy Johnson's running 17th. If they win the race, they knock about 83, 84 points off that lead. At this point in the championship, what do they have to lose?
That's it. They got nothing to lose. If they think they got a shot at it, try it. I think it's going to be amazing if they do it. You see here, the 88 car
too, but I think they would be back in the top 5 because that's where they were running before all of these stops started.
The 88 car would not restart. Another bad break for Junior. They could not get it to refire, and you can't push it past that end line, so they got to back it up.
Okay, while we're all talking, guys, there's 3 laps to go now, and this 99 car is still running.
Hey, you can't back out now. Yeah, you got to the point. I mean, yeah, you committed to this.
3 laps left. You're coming to 2 this time. 2.5 left.
And that's the thing.
3 back to the 20. And the 8, just let him go.
Once they committed to this strategy after that restart and didn't go charging up through the pack, that's it. They had to do it, right?
Oh, yeah, now they do because they've lost so much time.
Well, the key thing right now is just get out of the gas more yet, it looks like, with a 12-second lead over to second place Jeff Gordon. I mean, he just needs to be hardly running whatsoever. White flag next time, guys.
2 to go. 2 to go.
The 88 problem gave Jimmy Johnson one more position. Watch Jack Roush standing there watching. Bob Osborne. Can they get it done? Can they squeeze enough fuel?
They might be able to pull this thing off.
Man, what a great call. We hadn't even considered that, you know, because nobody's been anywhere close to that.
They would have to go 69 laps. They've gone now 68 laps. White flag.
It's amazing. We see our the guy that's getting ready to win this race getting passed by everybody on the racetrack, but he's on a different agenda.
It's just got to run half a lap.
If he can make it half a lap, he will narrow almost 80 points off of Jimmy Johnson's lead. He said if we can just get it down to 100 or less at Homestead, we got a shot.
I like his chances from here. Wow, what a call.
He's going to make it.
What a call.
Coming out of turn 4, what a call. Carl Edwards gets it done and wins at Texas.
Man, oh man. Jeff Gordon's going to finish second.
Hell yes, right there. That's Ford fuel mileage. Great job.
I got a hand for that. That was amazing.
Wow.
The differential.
Great job. It's over. We won it, right?
You won it. You won. That is amazing.
Oh, yeah. J.B. Murray comes on 3rd, Clint Boyer 4th, Greg Biffle 5th. A good points day for Biffle also.
Jimmy Johnson will be credited with finishing in 15th position, a lap down. And now the margin unofficially is 106 points between Johnson and Edwards with 2 races to go. Let's go down to Shannon.
Down here with Bob Osborne, what a celebration. All right, you guys decided to go for it. Bob, did you believe that you guys could make it on fuel?
We were real.
Tough question, huh?
Yeah, we were very close. You know, we got great fuel mileage. These Roush Yates engines are amazing. Amazing power, amazing fuel mileage. Nothing like a Ford engine, that's for sure. But couldn't believe it. You know, can't believe this thing came down to a fuel mileage. Led a bunch of laps. Had a great time. Got too tired there at the end and thought we blew it. But fuel mileage came around. I'm pretty happy.
What a great call by Bob Osborne. Guys, Carl Edwards just came over the radio and said, hey, where did Jimmy Johnson finish?
You wanted to find that out today before he got to victory lane, didn't you?
Officially, by calculations, Carl Edwards went 69 laps. Folks, that's 103.5 miles on 1 tank of fuel.
You know, you can do different things whenever you set out with that agenda from the very beginning. And we were wondering why those 4 tires weren't running better than that. But I'll tell you one thing. I don't want to play poker with his crew chief.
No, sir,
because that man might be pretty good.
There are the point standings. 2 races to go in the chase, and folks, it has tightened up big time. Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle, now 143 back.
He's still got fuel. He's down in the infield, spinning donut.
Jeff Gordon gains a spot by finishing 2nd. Great finish for Jeff.
How many miles you say it was? 100 and how many?
103.5.
Okay, count another one there. He's still running around.
Over 104 now.
Now, that's just a great call, and that's how you get yourself back in a championship battle here.
History holds true. Remember, we said for the last 3 years, a driver who won at Atlanta would also come and win in Texas. It began with Carl Edwards in 05, Tony Stewart 06, Jimmy Johnson in 07, and in 2008, Carl Edwards does it again.
Well, he had the dominant car all day, and at the end, they had to pull out some different strategy. Jamie?
And Jamie McMurray climbs from the car. What a run. Jamie led some laps there. Take us through the end. How close were you guys?
Well, I didn't know that anyone was going to be able to make it on fuel. And it was exciting to get the lead at the end. I'm really happy for Crown Royal. We had the Your Name Here 400 on the car. Some lucky fan's going to have the race named after him. So had a great car. We just, and I told Larry, I was like, you crew chief of the race. I was like, you made the perfect decision, 2 tires, and then took 2 tires again at the end. So I didn't think those guys would make it. It's frustrating, but we've run so well the last few weeks. I'm really excited for our team.
It finally paid off for Jamie McMurray. Best finish of the season, Doc.
Great effort for Jamie McMurray and Roush Fenway. Greg Biffle, by the way, finishes back in 5th spot. So you got 3 cars in the top 5. Let's listen in. Carl Edwards out of the car. Let's go down today.
For the second week in a row in victory lane, and this time no disputing it. Big gain on the 48, Carl.
It's good to be back here with you, Dave. First of all, Office Depot, I cannot thank them enough. Aflac, Ford. You guys, fuel mileage is big. Ford Fusion gets a great fuel mileage, I can tell you that. Samsung, Valvoline, my guys, the fans, number one, thanks for coming out here. This is awesome. Fun place. I don't know what to say. It just, my guys did a great job. We took off there for a while. We made probably the wrong call getting 4 tires. But Bob came up with a way to win that thing anyway. That was great.
Well, describe what it's like knowing you had a really fast race car before, and then he made the call. What did you think when he first told you, okay, we're going to try to make it? 69 laps or so.
First, Bob said, we're 0.2 of a lap short, so conserve. Then he came back and said, no, we're 4 laps short. Just go real hard and we'll pit. And then he came back again and said, we'll conserve. So, you know, just by default, I kind of knew that he wasn't too sure about it from that. And really glad it worked out. Just unreal. Just great. It was a great day. The fans are awesome. My guys are awesome. And we're closing ground on Jimmy. That's cool.
That's right. This time, I can tell you, he finished 15th. You gained 77 points.
That's good, Dave. I appreciate it. Dave called me this week and apologized for raining on my parade last week. You're a good man, Dave.
At Rain Gatorade here in the, or sorry, Vitamin Water here in Victory Lane. They're very happy down here for Carl Edwards, 2 in a row. Shannon?
Dave, down here with your points leader, Jimmy Johnson, as you just heard, 15th place finish. Can you describe your day today, Jimmy?
Not the day we wanted. You know, once we got through the second or third run, we got the car back where it was competitive, and we could run in the top 5, top 10 on speeds, but just couldn't get to that first car 1 lap down. And with the very few cautions that we had, we were just kind of in a position riding through the second half of the race, just riding where we were. So, you know, frustrating. We thought we were going to be better than that. We were off at the start of the race and got down a lap, and then with the lack of cautions, we just couldn't get back on the lead lap. But you know, this still is far from over. I've been saying it all along. We've got to fight hard and continue to fight hard, and we're going to a great track course next week and see what we can do then.
How challenging has it been the past 2 weeks, coming from all the way back to make something good out of what could have been something really bad?
Yeah, that's what this team's really good at. And in racing, you have to expect anything and everything. And we had that last week, and it came back to us, and we were able to get a second. This week, we could only salvage 15th, but you know, it's racing. Stuff happens, and you just have to deal with it week to week, and 2 more to go.
And it certainly isn't over. Jimmy Johnson's still your points leader, 106 over the second place driver.
And after what happened here in the spring with Jeff Gordon, this has to feel like a win for you.
It sure does. What a crazy day for the DuPont Nicorette Chevrolet. Real proud of Steve Letarte and all the guys on this team for not giving up. We struggled. You know, we were good when we were out front at the beginning and fell back to 5th, and we just kept trying to free it up through the middle, and one time I got too loose, lost all the track position, lost the lap, had to fight our way back to get on the lead lap. So I give them a lot of credit for being patient, you know, with everything all day, and Steve Letarte for making that great call to come in, not only work on the car, but get as much fuel in it as we could and go for it there at the end.
In all honesty, how much of a gamble was that call at the end to go for it on fuel?
Well, you know, the Lucky Dog actually really worked in our favor, because when we got the Lucky Dog, they closed the pits, so the leaders had already come in, and we had to ride around for quite a while, and that gave us a few extra laps. And then you know, when we pitted, we just took our time with it. We were the only car, had to be at tail end anyway, and plus I saved on the caution laps. I was turning the engine off, so I felt pretty confident that we could make it if we were only 1 lap short.
Came so close to stealing the victory, Jamie.
And Clint Boyer, what a finish for him tonight. Fourth, his best finish in the chase, led 36 laps tonight. And you guys made a gutsy call at the end and got the track position. What does that say about this team at this point in the season, Clint?
Yeah, it's go time. I mean, we want to get in the top 5. And Gordon, you know, he stayed out there and, you know, we'll run them down. We just want to really finish the year off good with these guys. Gil and all the guys had a lot of fun with these guys on Jack Daniel Chevrolet, and we want to finish strong.
You guys gained 1 position in the .6. Now I know the goal is top 5. Looking ahead to Phoenix, what can we look forward to from the 07?
Yeah, we got to go. I mean, Phoenix is a good track for us. That's our type of racetrack. So hopefully we can rattle off another top 5 here and have good points.
Great performance for the 07 tonight. Doc?
What an effort by Carl Edwards and his whole crew there to be able to narrow it by 77 points, going 103.5 miles on fuel. Who'd have thunk, huh?
Well, they had the dominant car, and who would have thought that they would have won it with this kind of brilliant strategy?
Yeah, great call, and we got so excited about that. All 12 of our chase guys finished in the top 20, Junior being 20th after that, running out of fuel. But how about Brad Keselowski finishing 19th in his first time in a Sprint Cup car? Pretty impressive by that young man.
Great job.
You get a grandfather clock at Martinsville. Here in Texas, you get a cowboy hat and a pair of 6-shooters and a pretty neat ring there. Eddie Gossage giving Carl Edwards, who becomes the first 3-time winner at Texas Motor Speedway. Well, next week, folks, we head to the Valley of the Sun. Championship leader Jimmy Johnson will be racing for his 3rd straight win at Phoenix. Can he get those points back? It is the 9th stop in the 2008 chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup. Our coverage begins Sunday, 3 o'clock Eastern Time on ABC, beginning with NASCAR Countdown. What a night in Texas, Alan.
Carl Edwards playing a lot of Yosemite Sam at Victory Lane. The rootinest, tootinest, baddest man in Texas, at least on this Sunday night. What a race. Who would have thought after Carl was so dominant for so much of this race that it would come down to fuel mileage for this 99 team to win. Now it's on to Phoenix.
Oh, it is on to Phoenix. I believe he's going to run good there too, guys. He's got a lot of momentum, and I think he might have really started something tonight with the rest of these teams. Hey, if you're low on fuel, slow way down. You're going to see a lot of teams doing that now.
Hey, what did the King say in our pre-race show? You got to be lucky, and you got to be lucky to win a championship. I think they were lucky tonight. Carl ran great all evening long, but they made some calculated decisions and had to have that little 4-leaf clover in the pocket at the end.
Now, by perspective, the largest point lead to be overcome with 2 races to go is 85. Carl is down by 106 with 2 races to go. This is still Jimmy Johnson's championship to lose.
Oh, it's not over at all. I mean, right now, if I was Jimmy Johnson, I'd be nervous because he has one problem out there in Arizona. Man, he can be in big trouble. And then another one at Miami. Big trouble yet, so I'd be nervous right now.
Fire up the old engraving tool and put Jimmy Johnson, 3-time heavyweight champ, on that trophy.
Even after today, big guy,
absolutely. Right? I'm not wavering. I'm dug in.
I stick by my guns, which say it's racing. Anything can happen. Something early in the race. If Carl's fuel had hiccup dry, we would be talking a whole different story at the end of this race.
Well, one thing you got to admit, guys, that guy right there, he's hot, he's on fire, he's got the momentum.
Oh, he's the man.
And he is the man.
He is the man.
So it's on to the Valley of the Sun for the Phoenix race next Sunday, starting with NASCAR Countdown at 3 Eastern Time. By the way, Jimmy trying for a 3rd straight win at Phoenix, and the Texas-style victory celebration ongoing. Carl's mom, Carl's team owner Jack Roush in the middle of it all. Track promoter Eddie Gossage in the jacket, orchestrating things like the maestro he is.
Yes, sir. And how about Jamie McMurray? Awesome run for Jamie McMurray. Once again, showing that team is getting much better.
And what about Kyle Busch? He pulled back into the top 10.
Coming up next, America's funniest home videos, except on the West Coast. So Carl Edwards wins in Texas today. It's on to Phoenix as the championship chase continues. Thanks for watching ESPN on ABC.
Rising up to see the last man standing. Ran to win, they told me lose is wrong. No, you can't pull me down, cause I'm just too strong. Waited way too long, so quitting ain't the plan. When it all falls down, I'll be the last man standing.